welcome to QI, the 640-pound gorilla of panel shows. Joining me in the quite interesting enclosure in the zoo tonight are a magnificent silverback, Bill Bailey, a majestic alpha male, Sean Locke, an exotic bird of paradise, Sandi Toksvig, and a faithful old curly-haired retriever, Alan Davies. But for tonight, only an extra treat, all the way from America. It's Mr. John Hodgman! Now, each of their buzzers is more beastly than the next. Bill goes. Sean goes. Sandi goes. Alan goes. And because he doesn't actually have a built-in mushroomoid, John goes. Excellent. Now, tonight we are on the hunt for G animals. Any animals that start with a G are fair game. What use is a goose? Sandi Toksvig.
Is it toilet paper? No, seriously.
Sandi, that is bizarre. Why did you say that?
Well, because I once read this book by Rabelais, I think it's called Gargantua, and he recommended that the best thing for toilet paper was a live goose. And I have yet to check into a five-star hotel without a sense of disappointment.
I have the quotation from Rabelais' Gargantua. I'll give you it in full, because it's pretty extraordinary. I have, answered Gargantua, by a long and curious experience, found out a means to wipe my bum. The most lordly, the most excellent, and the most convenient that was ever seen. I wiped my tail with a hen, with a cock, with a pullet, with a calfskin, with a hare, with a pigeon, with a cormorant, with an attorney's bag, with a Montero, whatever that is, with a
inside of his toilet, so the whole load.
With a falconer's lure.
And that's why he was thrown out of the pet shop.
You're barred.
Get out! Cool as an Owen, come on!
Told you before.
But to conclude, I say and maintain that of all the torche cool, arse wisps, bum fodders, tail napkins, bunghole cleansers, and white breeches, there is none in the world comparable to the neck of a goose that is well downed, if you hold her head betwixt your legs. And believe me therein upon mine honour, for you will thereby feel in your knockhole a most wonderful pleasure.
Yes.
Both in regard of the softness of the said down,
yes,
and of the temperate heat of the goose, which is easily communicated to the bum gut and the rest of the inwards, insofar as to come even to the regions of the heart and brains.
So I love that. Why do we need swear words when you've got knockhole?
Yeah.
Can I clear one thing up?
Yep.
Is it alive?
I fear it probably is.
Yes, I believe that adds a frisson.
It has to be alive, doesn't it?
Yeah.
He said
Then
it
you
was
can
warm.
turn it and laugh in its face. We are the master race.
People have been saying for years, why are geese so angry? What's wrong with geese? Why are they so furious?
No, we know.
If there were one animal that I was never going to put anywhere near my bum, it would be a goose.
There's so many other choices of animals you don't want near your
Scorpion.
knockhole.
No, that can be fun.
Get the scorpion to do it.
Yeah.
And he can get all those tricky little nibbles.
Scorpions,
He's got the claws, hasn't he?
not absorbent enough. It's not absorbent enough.
What about hedgehog? Is that absorbent?
Oh!
That'll get all the bits and it's absorbent.
Yes. It's
You could get the bits from the top half and then whip it round and get the soft
Brilliant. Brilliant. And you may be onto something.
bit. Yeah.
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 Sounds absurd, but we have just heard that a man did wipe his ass with a goose.
Yeah. So I think you're right. One to wipe, one to polish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. There are other things geese can do.
Goose fat.
What you can
Use
Goose fat? What do you use
Strain them.
goose fat for?
Frying potatoes.
Weapons.
Frying potatoes. Absolutely the best
Yes.
roast potatoes possible. But there's another use for goose fat that used to be common. David Williams, if I was to
Covering
say.
yourself.
Oh, for the
in
swimming.
Oh, for the
They're swimming the channel, yes. They don't anymore because when they rescue people, they slip out of their grasp. Let's go.
Watchdogs. Aren't they good watchdogs?
Ah, yes. They say they're great watchdogs, as you rightly say. Yeah.
Better than a dog, apparently.
Yes. Anything else?
A guide goose for the blind.
A seeing eye goose. Yeah. In the world of weaponry, they were very popular for.
Their aim, they've got brilliant aim.
Steady hand.
Who made a famous appearance at Nottingham Goose Fair, according to myth and legend.
Robin.
Puff Daddy.
Robin. It's like herding cats, isn't it?
I once opened the Goose Fair.
Good girl
Yes,
said.
Robin Hood.
Robin
It
Hood,
was Mr.
thank
Hood.
you. Your
That's
teacher's
okay.
favourite
And he was a
tonight.
goose.
No, but what was Robin Hood famous for?
Killing geese.
Even geese.
Do that lovely mime again.
Stretching
Yeah,
a
and
goose.
where would a goose come
This
in
is
use?
wiping his bum with a goose.
Yeah,
Feathers on the arrows.
the fletching, exactly. The feathers, the fletching.
Oh.
Goose feathers for arrows, so that's a good one.
Why have they got orange feet?
Because that's why they eat oranges. It's like flamingos with prawns.
It's
Geese eat oranges.
air safety.
Yeah.
Air
But
safety.
Terry's
Air
not
safety,
Air
yeah,
safety.
yeah.
So they can wave each other in.
Yeah, that's it. There's the bar-headed goose.
All right.
They can fly unbelievable distances.
Up to 10 miles.
They
They can fly backwards.
thousands of miles they fly.
With
They
their
can-
eyes tightly shut.
They have a technique for increasing their range by 70%.
What is it?
Landing on a boat.
That's what I'm asking you. Landing on a what? No, it's not. Imagining that imagining before man had any method of technological transport.
Gliding on hot air.
Grabbing onto other...
Lying.
boats.
As used to lie about where they've been.
Oh,
No, we're miles over there. There was just fly over the mountain, just wait then.
No, if you see geese in the air, there's a shape, isn't there? What is
So
it?
they
V,
fly in a
V,
V formation.
yeah.
It reduces wind shear.
Oh,
The
extra
following,
points to our
geese.
popular American visitor. Exactly right. Yes, it's the vortices. It calms the air and all the ones behind them. There's less to fight against.
How do you suppose they take those photographs? Do you think it's the sort of passing parachutist that goes, oh, it's a bit of luck, there's some geese going?
That's right. These are very
goose
fun.
going up. He's got his phone out.
Yeah.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Did I mention chimney
No.
sweeps?
Oh, yeah, they fly up and push.
Exactly. So they're used as chimney sweeps. How?
Well, actually, no, don't you drop them from the top? Isn't that what you do?
Yeah,
They use chickens for that as well.
yeah. And as they flap their
They
wings,
flap down, they clear the chimney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And badgers as well.
And some horses they use for that.
Clean as a whistle.
no, they don't use horses.
It's a squeeze, but they get them down there.
But the uses of gooses, or the ease of geese, range from...
It's the next question, the habits of rabbits.
I wish that it were.
How far can you shove a dove?
Hats of cats. That's my offer.
Stop it. Anyway, the uses of gooses range from burglar alarms to chimney sweeps, not to mention making excellent roast potatoes, as John pointed out. Which brings us to giraffes. Now, tell me why giraffes have such short necks.
Short necks. They've got long necks.
Are you telling me that long thing leading up to their head is not their
No,
neck?
that's their neck. When I say they have short necks, why would I say they have short necks?
Because you're wrong.
Annoying. I don't know.
It's in relation to their legs, their necks are short. In order to drink water, most animals, like deer, they don't have to splay out in that very vulnerable and unbalanced and quite tricky position just in order to have a sip of water. But if their necks were longer, they would just dip down and drink the water. Instead, because their legs are so long, is the point.
I have had a stance like that myself in the odd public house, I have to say. It's familiar.
Is that when you spilt your pint on
Yeah,
the
and
floor?
think I'm not wasting that.
So, I mean, it's important for it to have long legs. Why is it important for it to have long legs? Well, that might bring us to the next question. Why do giraffes have such long necks?
I presume so they can eat things
Yeah,
in
the
the
tops
trees?
of trees. and things.
So that they can see.
Oh, to eat tree tops.
Is that not true then, Stephen?
Well, actually, they don't eat from the tops of trees. They bend their necks to eat. But the girafologist community is rather split along two lines. The real reason, many people believe, is, see if you can guess, what, I mean, so many things...
Seeing a long distance, seeing
appears to
over
be,
things.
that is very useful, to see each other, to see
who's
over
on the
things.
top deck of the bus.
Yeah, they're in large groups. People used to think they were solitary, but they realise they're in groups, but the groups are just simply very spread out because they can see each other. But a lot of animals have things and objects, and the most noticeable thing about them is there for what reason? Why does a rhino have a horn? Why does a deer have antlers?
Do they fight with their
They
necks?
fight.
They fight. Oh.
They fight other males.
What? Oh, how?
That's what they do. And it's unbelievable. They can kill each other with
That's
their
horrid.
one swipe of their neck. Isn't that a shock?
Come on!
Vicious.
Yeah. They're such graceful, gentle animals, you think. And then look at that.
It's quite a stupid sport, though, really.
Everyone's got the fundamental ducking principle. That's really what they...
Well, you see...
Just duck.
Pleasant.
Duck now. Duck.
This is like that footage they have on ITV of town centres on a Friday night, isn't it? People fighting at bus stops.
Don't you want that in the Olympics? Don't you think they should clear horse guards and have this kind of fighting? I think it'd be marvellous.
It would be good,
Yeah,
wouldn't it?
much better, much more interesting. They are incredible. I mean, can you imagine being a baby giraffe and you're just on your way out? You think, oh, hello, that's a long way down. That must
6 foot.
6 foot. They what?
Well,
they
6
just-
foot. They're born the size of 6 foot, and they're dropped head first out of their mother's passage.
That would affect you for life, I would have thought.
That's why their necks are so long, to stop the fall.
Maybe you've got it finally once and for
They
all.
plant those horns into the ground and then they stand on their heads until they can walk.
Wait a minute.
Evolution is amazing.
It is, isn't it? So there you are. They're these beautiful animals, and they are graceful and sweet and long eyelashed and sexy and rather desirable in many ways. But they use their necks, it seems, as weapons
job you're tall.
war, isn't it? Yes.
Yes, and giants use them in the latrines.
What do giraffes eat? What is their main staple?
Children.
Staple, in fact. Not children.
Leaves, plants.
Yes, particular
foliage.
plant.
It's not treetops.
No.
Acacia.
Acacia, exactly.
yeah.
Acacia, which is a thorny plant, which has developed a rather brilliant strategy for trying to put the giraffes off from eating it. It gives out a very bitter taste, but more impressively, it warns its neighbours when giraffes are coming.
What? By going, psst, giraffe.
Yeah, basically, yeah, it sends out chemical signals.
Yeah.
And that provokes the bitter.
And then what do? Run away?
Sadly, that's one thing they can't do.
There's a giraffe coming. Brilliant.
So they're not-
Now I'll be all fearful for a time.
I'm just telling you.
Yeah, it's a wind-borne warning burst is the name of this particular
Favourite
routine.
little burst.
A warning burst. Have you ever done a wind-borne warning? Oh, never
yeah.
mind. But enough with giraffes, I feel. What's the commonest cause of death amongst mountain... Wow!
Is it snowboarding accidents?
Almost is.
Well, just I would think with those horns, you'd have a devil's own job getting a helmet on.
Is it assassination?
Yeah.
Not...
A lot of them are assassinations.
Yeah.
You said it.
Falling off.
Falling off
Accidents.
mountains. Would you
Accidents.
believe it? They fall off mountains. No, they're not clumsy. They're unbelievably nimble and secure and sure-footed, but...
They show off.
No, it's worse than that. What is
They
it?
get coffee drinkers.
3 to 4 times every hour they...
They flip over like those toys that you wind up.
They try and fly.
They use their horns to...
Scratch their asses.
Fighting.
Fighting.
They fight.
Fighting.
They flip them over.
There they are, look.
Look at that.
And that's what...
They knock
Nobody
each other
goes.
off the mountain.
They knock each other off each other's perches, there you are.
Oh, heavens.
Who put them up there?
Yeah, I'm not sure that's an example of them.
Help! Hey, look! Help! It's the fastest growing tree in the world. And they all stand there and it goes... whoop.
Oh, dear.
They're going, well, I think we've cleaned this tree off. Let's go, shall we? Very little left here.
I used to be a goat herdsman, so I could get them down for you if you want.
Wouldn't that just be a goat herd?
Sorry?
Wouldn't that just be a goat herd rather than a goat herdsman?
Yeah, sorry.
That's all right.
When I was a goat herdsman.
I
was a goat herd manny thing.
Yeah.
I could have got them down for you, no problem.
Could you? What
I know the
technique
call.
what goat herding technique would you have used?
No. Really?
That one moved.
Yeah. That's right.
Why do we say he's a bit of an old goat? Why do we say that? I don't think Randy...
I think they are quite randy goats.
I could sense after a few weeks they found me more and more attractive.
Do you know why?
Is it because they know we've got money?
Money and
Cars. They're actually quite shallow.
I think they like
They
the
see the
fact
cars and the sexy clothes and the music and the gold.
They're like wags.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe
Why
I
is it
get balls
What
on.
it is our sweat. Under our arms, we have a sort of goaty smell, and female goats go mad for it. So if you wish to attract a female goat, a nanny, yep, that's it. Just waft a bit of your underarm at her.
Cheese.
Well, I used to be in the forest with 26 goats and I never got one approach.
Not a nibble. Nothing.
Now I feel quite hurt.
Yeah.
Because you're using the link.
Yeah. Now, what did seagulls contribute to the war effort?
Seagull.
Seagulls. You give a television technician Photoshop.
Did they steal food out of the hands of the enemy soldiers? And they starved to
Is
death.
it like the parrots in the Eiffel Tower? They kept parrots in the Eiffel Tower in World War II to warn when aircraft were
Yes.
coming, and they'd go, "Oh, aircraft coming." That's true, they did.
Surely they'd say des avions viennent. or something.
Yes, obviously. I was translating for the
Yeah,
benefit of the
fair
audience,
enough.
but
No, it's not quite that. Again, we have to be in the right war.
Which one?
which war are we
The
in?
First World War we need to
Some
do.
sort of
14
message
to 18.
service.
No, there was a new threat that had never been seen in warfare before.
Aeroplanes.
That was one in another medium.
Submarines.
Submarines, yes. And
What
the
is a
British.
seagull with a submarine?
Well, let's try and put it all together, shall we? Now, one of the problems with the submarine is you can't see it. There was no sonar, of course, in the First World War. So how do you know where they are?
When they surface.
Well, if they surface, you can see them. But before they surface, another thing that a submarine does is pop up a periscope. So if you could train a seagull to flock towards periscopes by putting food all over the periscopes on your own submarine, so that whenever it saw a periscope, it was associated with food and flocked to it, then whenever there was a submarine with its periscope up, the seagulls would flock towards it, and you'd be on your ship, and you go, there must be a submarine over there because the seagulls are...
Did they train every seagull in the world to do this? Or did
This
they
is the
keep
problem.
flocks
It
of
didn't
seagulls, so to
work.
speak, on ships?
Surely the flaw in the plan is putting food all over your own periscope so you can't see where you're going.
Well, you only do that in the training area.
Oh, I see. Sorry.
Yeah, I see.
But they thought, while we're there, they thought, let's get it, not just train it to recognise the enemy's periscope, but to poo all over it so that it will blank out the lens.
This is a terrible plan.
It
It'll
is
never
bad.
work.
It is a bad
Sounds
plan.
like from the Black Adam. That'll do it. That'll work.
It was a grand plan. Did not work, I'm afraid. But partly because the girls couldn't distinguish between
idiots.
Stupid creatures.
Well, they couldn't distinguish between enemy submarines and home submarines. But more importantly, when I said seagull, I was making an ornithological mistake.
Albatross.
No, they're not seagulls.
Tern.
They're just
Terns?
Gulls.
They're just gulls.
Gulls.
They're not seabirds, gulls. They're land birds. They don't go far out to sea at all. They live on the edge of the land, admittedly, in cliffs and things. But they, you know,
Do they have
they're not
webbed
like-
feet?
so they don't go that far out.
So if you're looking for a submarine,
Is this upsetting your worldview?
if you're looking for a submarine
Seagulls.
if you're looking for a submarine in the middle of the Atlantic, the bird's going to say, "I'm not going that far."
Yes,
I'm not. Yeah.
basically, that's the problem. It just doesn't go that far out. So, yes, during the First World War, seagulls were trained to search out German submarines and then crap on their periscopes. Pretty clear message. But what is this camel behind me trying to tell you here? What's going on?
Oh dear.
That's a very disgusted audience, though. They don't like what they see.
I think say Jeremy Carl's on in a minute.
Do you know, what are we looking at there?
I presume it's a tongue, is it? But is it a sausage?
It's not his tongue, amazingly.
It's
Smog.
his stomach.
It's his palate. He can blow part of his soft palate out. It's called a palatinus diverticulus. It's known as a gullet, and it's used as, again, we've been discussing, it's used in mating. It's used to attract females.
Oh, you really sexy beast, you.
Yeah, it's a heck of a thought, isn't it?
Not working for me.
It appears to be sticking out its tongue. The camels with the most testosterone have the biggest gullet.
That's what they tell you.
Yeah.
It's like that nonsense about bald men being full of testosterone.
Yeah,
isn't it?
I know, bless. But, no, the size... Way.
Phil's not insulted because he doesn't know. Phil doesn't know he's bald. I don't know. What do you mean? He's convinced he's got a big, thick, luscious head of hair. Well, down my back there is.
I've got that.
Anyway, they do that. They blow out their gullet and they make a bloop, bloop, bloop noise, apparently.
That's the best they've come up with after all these years.
Yeah. In Saudi Arabia and other countries, they often cut the gullet out. Why would they do that? Do you know why?
To stop it, they cut it out.
It's so they
stop
breathe
it
better for
breathing.
camel racing.
Oh, camel racing.
Yeah. Actually, in Saudi Arabia, they import camels from...
Kent.
You set them up so well, Steve. It's very kind
From
of you.
Kent. No, not from Kent.
From Hertfordshire.
Not. Let's disabuse ourselves. Australia is the right answer, yes. Thank you. But why would they import them? What do they need them for?
They're very good at cricket, the
Yeah.
Australian one.
The Australian camels are actually much fitter than the
Oh, look, we like
Saudi.
sports.
Yeah.
It's a big outdoors.
No, they don't use them to race. They don't use them for transport. They use the camels they import for
Food?
food, for meat, camel
They
meat.
eat
Yes.
them. They
They
tell
eat
them
them,
they're
eat
going
them.
to have a lovely
Yeah.
night at camel race. You'll love it over there, mate. Away you go. Good luck. Give us a call when you won your first race.
They also import from Australia, the Saudi Arabians, something else, not
Barman.
camels.
That'd be stupid, wouldn't it? Barman in Saudi Arabia.
Sand.
Sand?
Yeah. Sand.
They love irony, don't they?
Yes.
They always see the other side of a joke.
It's because the sand in Saudi Arabia is the wrong kind of sand for
Golf.
Throw it in people's eyes.
building. Yes, male camels impress the ladies by blowing a balloon called a gullet out of their mouth. Speaking of blowing bubbles, why don't goldfish swim into the side of their bowls?
Well, that's stupid. Isn't it?
Because they're not stupid. Let me just say, they don't use their eyes to know it's glass, so what do they use to know that there's something there?
The pressure of the water or
The pressure of the water is the right answer. They have little pressure sensors, which are similar to the ones we use for our ears, and they activate little gelatinous caps that in themselves activate hairs that tell them, in the same way that our cochlear fluid activates hairs that tells us there's pressure in our ears.
Goldfish don't have hairs. You don't see goldfish with different styles.
Emo fit.
Daily hairs inside.
I love what you've done with your goldfish.
Well, it seems they do. Sharks have the same thing. They have neuromasts as well. They're called the ampoules of Lorenzini. And they detect not pressure, but...
Fear.
Yeah.
Well, no, oddly enough, electricity. Because a lot of fish give off electricity as a sort of weapon. And
So they know when you've left the light on.
yeah.
He's really beautiful, isn't he? Look at him.
He is a biggie. He is a biggie.
That's a nurse. Is that a nurse?
Is that a nurse?
Well, I was referring to the
Obviously.
brand of
Hospital were you
shark.
born in?
I suddenly had an image of you in a home.
Oh, Lordy bless. Anyway, fish don't use their eyes to navigate. They use a system of pressure detectors along the sides of their body. And so the light fades and our guests head bravely for the waterhole in the full knowledge that any moment they're likely to be dragged underwater and devoured by the savage Gila monster of general ignorance. So fingers on buzzers. Why are there no insects in the sea? Yes, Bill.
Because it's too far
Yes, that's right.
It's too far.
It's too far.
I know,
It's simply too far.
because
Far out.
water makes them explode.
But there are insects in rivers.
That.
The salt water, is it?
It's not the salt water because there are salt water spiders. Plenty of those. Plenty of sea spiders.
Current's too strong.
Spiders
their
aren't
own
insects.
insects.
Spiders are not insects. Ha ha!
Exactly. I'm saying there aren't any insects, but there are spiders.
Have they got...
The spiders ate me.
No, it seems to be because there are no trees and there are no flowering plants. You know, there's nothing that they've evolved to deal with exists in the sea. Whereas spiders could live in the sea because they just hunt and they can...
It's a shame, isn't it, really?
It is.
Yeah.
There you go. Now, who goose-stepped their way across Europe in the 1940s? Yay.
Was it a goose?
No. Sorry.
Worth a try.
It was.
Yes.
Who goose-stepped their way across Europe in the 1940s?
Well, I mean,
Oh, we're reluctant to say
you know,
What are you reluctant to say, Alan?
any reference to
Hitler.
Oh, Hitler, no. Ignore the Nazis. The Nazis didn't goose-step in the 1940s.
The Russians.
The Russians is the right answer. But why?
Because they had incredibly stiff starch.
No, but why was the Nazis wrong? Why was the Nazis the wrong answer? Surely they did goose-step.
Because they didn't do the goose step.
They did do the goose-step, but not in the 1940s. They stopped it in the 1930s. They only goose-stepped in their early years, in the Nuremberg rallies and so forth.
New Year's
Fall out of
resolution.
fashion.
It fell out of fashion and no new recruits were asked to do it. They called it der Stechschrift. The Stechschrift.
very high impact.
That is a...
Doesn't
Yeah,
look
it's a
good.
That's
terrible
actually
way to
Chinese or Korean, I think.
That's Korean, yeah.
North Koreans, yes. And that's the point. It's very, very hard to do, and it shows just how butch and clever and disciplined you are.
You have to have
But no.
tremendously flexible hamstrings to do that, I think.
You all have to be the same height as well, don't you?
Yes.
You do have to
And
be...
Korean, apparently.
Well, Korean or Russian or Chinese or Cuban or Vietnamese or Chilean or Iranian. There you are. So, the Nazis dropped the goose-step in 1940. The only people goose-stepping in Europe for the rest of the war were the Soviets. So I know all you care about now are the scores, and I have them in front of me, and my word, they are fascinating, fascinating to behold. In equal last place on -7, Sean and Bill. Thank you. In third place on -4, it's Alan Davies. How respectable is that? In second place with -3, it's Sandi Toksvig.
Oh my God.
Which means that our glorious winner is John Hodgman. Well, that's it from Sandy, John, Sean, Bill, Alan and me. I leave you with a simple truth gleaned from the blogosphere. Friendship is like wetting your pants. Everyone can see it, but only you can feel its warmth. Thank you. Good night. And welcome to the QI anatomy lesson, where we're discussing heads, hands, hips, hearts, and indeed any other part of the body, beginning with H. And joining me with scalpels at the ready are 4 prime specimens of the human body. So give a big hand for Sue Perkins. And a hearty cheer for Bill Bailey. And a hip, hip, hip replacement hooray for Giles Brandreth. Way, very good. And a hair-raising scream for Alan Davies. Wow.
How do I stop dead?
Whoa, that was good. And now, thanks to the handiwork of my audio elves, your buzzers should be ready. And Sue goes... I think it was a round of applause. And Bill goes... And Giles goes. And Alan goes. Oh, we recorded cleverly the audience. Yeah. Wow. So, let's start with H.
Already one of the weirdest shows I've ever been.
We try and do our best.
This sounds like a pensioner sitting on a bag of Rice Krispies.
You're right. certainly not someone under 65 sitting on a bag of Rice Krispies, is it?
Or somebody putting their fingers in the socket. Do it again. Slow way to go, but nice.
Yeah, oh, lovely.
Easy, Tiger. Easy.
Careful.
Easy. Leisure delay, remember?
Well, let's start with H for hands. What can I tell about you by looking at your palms?
Sorry, Steve, why did you say it like that? Really strange. Hands. What?
Just to emphasise, it begins with H.
Like we were so under any illusion that hands started with anything else. Hands.
Helpful.
Subtitles for the harder
Remember who
thinking.
you're sitting next.
Oh, yes, of course, yes.
Hands, dear. Hands. Yes, look, at the end of your arms. So settling down, what can you tell about someone from their palms?
Oh, how long they're going to live, whether they're going to get married, how many
Future.
children they're going to have.
Can you...
He started it. I just joined in.
Maybe we'll halve the forfeit between you.
Oh, I can't believe I get it.
But no, empirically, and obviously it's never been proved that any such thing could ever be demonstrated by looking at your palms. But there are things you can tell them.
Forgive me, you say it's never been proved,
Yeah.
but there are people who feel they've done it.
Well, yeah, feeling you've done something is not quite the same as empirical scientific... Thank God you're out of government.
They sweat, that's all they do.
Well, there
To varying degrees.
But they have ridges. We'll ignore the lines of palmistry for the moment, but there is such a thing as palm diagnosis. There is a way of finding out predispositions towards rather important and life-threatening,
good God.
happiness-threatening illnesses. Who...
Oh, so it will spell something. You're going to...
Alphabetic.
And where do we see this? Where does this
Do they
happen?
swell up? Do they go
The
red?
ridges of the palms.
The ridges?
Who was responsible for discovering fingerprints? He was a very famous scientist called Francis Galton, whose name was rather ruined by the fact that he believed in eugenics, which was rather discredited.
That's always
But
a shame.
It is a bit, yes. But he also noted the ridges and whorls on the palm. And then 30 years later, in the 1920s, it was discovered that those with Down syndrome have completely different palms from anyone else. And then by the 1960s, at least 20 conditions were shown to present
Show up.
themselves on the palms.
Look how gullible we are. We're just like this, jars and I like that.
Yeah.
Heal us!
You can also...
Make us whole again!
There are also indications...
Tip us!
We work for food!
Yeah.
But going back, if I may, to palmistry, all I will say is this, that you dismiss palmistry, but there were people 100 years ago, perhaps the wisest people of the time, who consulted palmists.
Indeed they were, including, of course, our mutual
Our
hero.
mutual friend, Oscar Wilde, but Mark
wrote
Twain did.
Mark Twain, yeah.
Queen Victoria, I think,
Yeah,
did.
massive,
Edward
yeah.
VII
Gladstone.
did. And they
Who was the palmist they consulted? Do you
They
know?
consulted a man, Oscar Wilde certainly consulted a man called Cairo,
That
based
was,
on
Cairo from the...
Cairo from the Greek meaning hand.
But his real name was...
His real name was William Warner.
You're right, there he is. He was Irish.
And he was Irish, and his great-great-grandson's brother married Elizabeth Taylor, Senator Warner. But that's just incidental.
That's good to know, yeah.
Oh.
He also called himself Count von Hamon. But no, that's a really good answer on William Warner, and that's superb to hear. Splendid answers all round. Thank you very much. The fact is, palmistry won't tell you your future, but it can tell you your past in the form of genetic markers that were set down while you were in the womb. Somebody playing with me.
It sort of looks funny
There
with what
is
you're doing.
a piece of wire. I've been goosed by the palm of a skeleton.
I've been sitting there for 10 minutes thinking, when shall I do it? When shall I do it?
Thank
They're
you.
talking about palms. It should be now. It should be now. Hey!
You see? It had to end. Oh, dear. Oh, dear.
Just don't know
Sorry. Keith, man, my head's come off.
Oh, my heavens. Thank
Wow.
Right, just imagine
That'll
that.
do it.
Carry on, carry on.
They actually look a little bit like the cheeky girls.
you. They do. Yes. Answer me another question. Okay. Marcel Proust.
À la recherche du temps perdu.
Very good. Now, why did Marcel Proust have such a limp handshake? There he is. There's Marcel.
He hasn't slept for about 5 years, hasn't
I feel bad saying this, but I know he was a known homosexual.
He was well gay.
Now, I don't... Well, he was well gay. But I don't want to say that he had the limp handshake because he was gay. It's like saying he loved to buy scatter cushions and just throw them around the gaff of the weekend. I mean, it seems a really, reductive thing to say, but I don't know if it's...
There are types of gay who go around in muscle vests and are very butch, and there are types of gay, like Marcel, who are rather limp-wristed and who like ornament and design. He famously wrote only in a cork-lined room. He was very sensitive. So, but...
he was very buoyant.
Buoyant.
He could go to sea at any time. He could set sail.
He could write anywhere in the world. Oceans, anyway.
Yes.
I'm going to offer a thought.
Yeah.
Okay?
Right.
He, being gay, spent a lot of time in North Africa.
Tangiers.
North Africa!
And one of the things that I discovered when I spent time in Africa...
Are you coming out? Is this a coming out story? Because if it is, that'll be the picture, so just watch out.
Well, tonight could be the night, you're right.
It could be the night.
I know your party's behind you.
Yes, indeed.
Yes,
I'm going to suggest this. When I went to Africa, I was quite disconcerted to find that traditionally the African handshake is not simply very soft, but it lingers. Shake my hand.
Oh, it's just an excuse again.
No, I think...
The injunction, Giles, the
in
injunction.
Europe, we shake hands
Don't touch
in Europe, we shake hands like that. I think in Africa, we shake hands like this, and we hold the hand. I have a lot of experience of this.
Stop it.
He's a
in
dementor.
He's glued me. I can't get out.
I don't wish to name drop, but I went to interview Archbishop Desmond Tutu, and he held my hand like this for a long, long time.
Did he?
And he was saying to his age, who is this again?
I'm thinking that Marcel Proust spent time in North Africa and rather liked this tradition and brought it back with him to Paris.
It's an interesting idea. I have no evidence that Proust went. I know that André Gide went to North Africa.
That's what I'm thinking of.
You're thinking of André Gide. But never mind.
You sweated on my hand for that?
André Gide was out and proud. He was probably the man who invented the word homosexual, as it were, in his book Corridon. And he was out. Marcel was not out. Marcel was embarrassed and ashamed of being gay, and indeed he went to brothels to try and cure himself. It didn't
we've
work.
all tried that.
Yeah. You heard it here first, folks.
The North Africans hold a hand like that, my darling.
No, it was a sort of double bluff is the only way I can explain it. He had a friend, a Romanian count, who said to him, look, I can teach you how to do a more manly handshake. Then people won't think that you're an invert, as the word was then.
Invert?
An invert,
As
yeah.
a gayer.
A gayer, yeah. And Marcel Proust said, no, if I do that, people will think I'm trying to look straight. Oh. Whereas if I confidently am all limp...
It's a double bluff.
It's a double bluff. Now, to handshakes, we said that palms don't reveal personality. To handshakes?
I don't like a feeble handshake. It gives me the creep.
No, it's not right.
I don't like a sweaty hand. That's the worst.
I don't like it when there's something left on your hand.
I have to say...
Residue.
I don't like the other hand coming into clasp either.
That's a power thing.
The second thing.
Isn't that a power, like a dominance thing?
Is
like,
it?
It's totally.
Me, man.
But when you see people holding hands, the dominant figure, if you see them walking down the street, the dominant figure is the figure with the hand on the outside. Hold my hand.
Oh, is that right?
Close your eyes and hold my hand.
Not again.
Don't do it.
This is over in a moment. Just take my hand.
I'm looking away.
All right.
No, you do it. You've got to take my hand. You let me dominate you. You've let me dominate you. You chose. I just held my hand.
What do you want
put
to
your
be
hand
submissive
under
or
mine.
dominant? I mean, don't stop stroking the under thing of it. Who does that?
Wow.
Who does that?
That's weird.
You
He
said
did it
you
inverted
liked
crab.
it. You said it earlier. You said you liked it.
No, that was
you said
inverted
you liked
crab.
it.
No,
God.
You did say you
They're
liked
having a
it.
row.
I've now got two
Did the
soil.
tickle?
He did do
The crazy spider?
He did do the crazy spider.
Well, no, handshakes do tell us a lot, don't they? I mean, individually, we instinctively respond, as we've just shown, to handshakes
like
that
a
repel
crunch,
us.
yeah.
Exactly.
I don't like a crunch.
Well, Paul Flynn, the Labour MP in Wales, actually suggested that people who gave really strong handshakes should be charged for assault.
He's not a busy man, is he?
So anyway, Marcel Proust used a limp handshake because he wanted to conceal the fact that he was gay in an elaborate kind of double bluff. Now, I want you to imagine you've been transported to the 19th century and the trip has given you a banging headache. you want to have a hole drilled in your head to get rid of the pain and the pressure. So, where's the best place to have it?
For trepanning?
Germany?
Exactly why they can now read my mind. These days.
It's amazing.
He's the 8th series, I suppose.
He said basically it's... Germany, you said no. Germany probably not the best place.
They trepan in the top.
But literally, where is the best place to go? You're in the... It's the 19th century. Should it be Europe? Should it be America?
Harley Street.
Harley Street is a very bad place to go.
They would go to...
Margate.
France.
France.
Didn't they in Africa?
Africa probably a better bet than Harley Street.
Yeah.
But it seems that Papua New Guinea would probably be the best place. In the 19th century, if you had this, what's it called again? You used the word trepanning. Yeah. 78% of those who had it done in London and the West died.
From blood poisoning.
But in Papua New Guinea, from
Why do people keep going?
cross-infections.
That's incredible. 8 out of 10 people died.
Yeah.
I'm up for it. My head.
Yeah. But it wasn't because they had a hole drilled in their head. It was because they got infected.
What was it for, the trepanning?
Well, to relieve pressure,
yeah.
supposedly earlier. It's it's the original form of surgery, that, as far as we know from archaeology, the oldest form that ever there was. And we know that it was, well, I won't say successful. We know that it wasn't a failure. There's a way of knowing that it didn't kill people, which is...
Some of them survived.
A little bit of tissue grows.
Yeah, you see the skull has completely rehealed, but you see, because people have lived for years afterwards.
They used to put coins in the hole and things like that. They used to put stuff, because you're left with a big gaping hole. You do want to seal it, but...
Yeah.
I
You
think
could put
people
like a
used to-
dispenser and turn your head into a Pez machine.
But it
Just
was
press your ear.
Originally, it was in older cultures, you'd clamp the victim's head between your legs, and you'd just get a stone, a sharp piece of obsidian or flint, and you'd scrape onto the scalp. And grooves and grooves. And you can see this, obviously, in old skulls. And here,
Yeah,
even there...
He's not happy about that.
He's not happy. The point is, in New Guinea, they used found sharp things to do the hole and then pour coconut milk over it, which is sterile. Whereas in the 19th century in Britain, they were in hospitals where all kinds of cross-infections were possible, and it was a lot more dangerous for that reason. But what about, do you know about open craniotomies, open brain surgery where someone is conscious? Why would you want someone to be awake while
So you
you're
know
operating?
that they can use their fingers and
That's
their
right. So you
senses.
know you're not, because we still know so little about the brain that there is every chance that you're an inch out in where you're operating and you can ruin a speech centre or motion centre. There's a man called Adcock, Eddie Adcock, I think his name was. He's quite a senior figure in the world of bluegrass music. He had a hand tremor and they decided to do one of these conscious craniotomies on him, and we actually have film of him.
Oh, really?
He plays the banjo all the way through the operation while they're operating on his brain to check that they're not interfering with it. So can we see Mr. Adcock? There he is.
My goodness.
And how about now? No problems? Nothing, okay? Tap, 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 tap. Problem. Okay.
It's pretty astonishing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Excellent.
I saw it in Star
That
Trek.
is mental.
They took Spock's brain clean out
Yeah.
and replaced it with another one.
Oh,
They
yes.
did it all, and he lay on his back, and they put a kind of board over his head like that. And then the man stood behind going, right, the brain's out now, and then the new brain's in, and then they took the board up, and his head was absolutely fine.
But the fact is, trepanning is the oldest known form of surgery, and in the 19th century, you're better off having it done in the jungles of Papua New Guinea than in the hospitals of London. Now, how would you know if you had a shrunken head? I'm going to give you. I'm going to give you some. Oh, yeah.
Is it real?
Well, that's my question. How can you tell whether you have an authentic shrunken head? You have one.
Oh, I see. Or whether, how can you tell that you actually have a shrunken head
Does it
yourself?
come with a
Well, no,
certificate?
that you could
Well, that would
probably
be easy.
Oh, well,
'cause
there
we
right.
are.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
Is one of these real?
Well, what do you know about shrunken? Where would you get one? There are some real ones.
Ecuador.
Well, I would
Peru.
say
Ecuador is exactly right, sir. This is brilliant. You're on fire. Yeah, that is impressive. Do you know the name of the tribe or
No.
people? It's
No.
the Shwa people. Yeah.
Shwa.
The Shwa people, who are a clan
Yeah.
of the
Shrunkies.
Shwara tribe in exactly the area. Exactly the area.
Oh, look, you put this in the back of your car.
Yay!
So you think this is an early nodding dog?
Yes.
That feels like horsehair or something to me.
Yeah, no, it doesn't fit. It
It
doesn't.
smells.
They're still doing it.
Well, no, not officially. It's against the law. But in every Ripley's Believe It or Not museum, there's at least one. It's 29 by our count. But, oh, that's lovely. Give me a recipe. How would you do it?
Well, how would you actually...
How would you shrink a head?
Put it in the washing machine at a very high heat.
Wow!
So, I mean, it's a normal human head, but
take
it's
the skull out.
reduced to the size of... Those
Get
are
the
real
skin-
size.
You'd have to take all
Well,
the
you don't-
skin off someone, wouldn't you?
You take all the skin off in one go, right, including the hair. You throw away the skull and the eyes into a river, if you're a schwa trainer. So you've got the skin, all right, you've got this whole skin. Then you turn it inside out, and you
Obviously.
scrape it.
Nice.
I didn't invent this, yeah? Then you get it back the right way again, keeping all the features as perfect
Much
as you
like
can.
skinning a rabbit.
Yeah, then you bind the lips together, you sew them together and sew the eyelids,
Yeah.
right? Then you pop in hot stones and sand,
Right.
right?
To get it shaped.
I'm making
So
note
you
of
chuck
this.
To
some
heat
eyes
it up,
in a
yeah.
river.
Then you simmer it.
How long do you
in
simmer it for?
boiling water. Gas not too, my darling.
Bay leaf?
Yeah,
Yeah.
a bay leaf. It's always never go wrong with that. Bay leaf. And then you kipper it, you smoke it, essentially. And voila.
To what purpose?
Well, they're a pretty ferocious group of people, these schwa, and they're the ones who are famous for
Oh,
dipping.
for the man with the molten lava. Is this the cruelest people in the history of the world?
Well, they're certainly
I
pretty cruel.
remember the teacher who taught us this. He was pretty vicious himself.
Right.
And there was a Spanish general who tried to tame this schwa tribe.
Yes.
And they had the last laugh. They took him, they pulled open his mouth, they poured molten gold down his gullet until his bowels burst.
That's exactly right. And it sounds like a good repayment for his greed for gold. I
Indeed.
think,
Well,
yeah.
that's why they used gold.
Yeah, indeed.
why
And
are they
they're
so
also
pleasant?
they're the tribe famous for dipping darts in curare, the poison
curare, yes.
beloved of detective writers.
So that's the one that gets your central nervous system.
Absolutely.
They've got lovely bobble hats.
They're lovely.
Yeah.
It's a good look. Yours are not human. They are goat or alpaca. And these are available in Ecuador as tourist knickknacks. They're
Oh, I
quite
see. So
expensive.
that's a goat's face.
Or at least goat skin.
Goat's-
And you can usually tell one that's done by either someone imitating the tribesman is that the lips are too neatly sewn up. In the originals, they're really pretty basic. And
Yeah.
And is it to preserve relatives? Or...
it's a kind of gleeful, joyous, gloating,
do
I
it-
own you, I've
Take the
reduced
spirit
you.
out of
But
your...
it's not a compliment. It's not
Oh, no, it isn't.
Granny's gone, let's keep her at the end of
Oh,
the bed.
no.
What do you really think about Uncle Bill, Grandpa?
I hated him. I always hated him.
If you hand them back, I've got another little experiment for you to... Oh, thank you so much. Here, I've got something else to give you here. All we want you to do here, I'm going to hand these blank £2 coins. Just try and draw the Queen's head as she is on the coin.
The Queen's head on the...
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Is she wearing a crown? Is she, just an outline. We want...
Which way does she look? No one knows.
No, don't ask for help.
anybody out-
Don't I?
The left-
Alan Davies, I'm going to take points away if you cheat.
How do you think
So
I got
many
through
points.
school? How do you ask for help?
Is everyone done?
Yeah.
Yes.
She
Okay.
looks like Lenny Henry of
Quicker.
mine, unfortunately.
Well, that's all right.
Okay, done.
Okay, when Alan's done. Okay, all of you all hold
like
them up.
it.
Mine
There we
looks
are,
like a
there we are.
triceratops.
And let's have a look at yours. There. And you're extraordinary. The point is, you've all, especially Bill somehow, you've all made the fundamental error that everybody makes in thinking she
profile.
faces left.
Oh.
She faces right. You've done that.
You said left.
Yeah, because most people think
Sorry, it's too late now.
that. 88% of people think the Queen faces left on her coins.
88%.
On every coin that ever was stamped since she was Queen, it's always faced the right.
Never
Always.
asked for help.
Do they take it in turns? So
Yes,
did
they
her
take-
father
they
face the other
alternate.
way?
Yes.
And Prince Charles?
Yes,
Should
we'll-
he be
Straight
spared?
on.
We'll
He's
take
full
the-
on with the ears like
they
that.
alternate. They've alternated since Charles II.
But does she not face the other way on the paper money?
No, on the
te-
stamp.
On the
And
stamp.
that's,
All right.
that's it's one theory. One theory as to why 88% of people seem to think she faces left is because she does on the definitive edition of the stamps, which we can see here. We're all familiar with that image. But on the other hand, that's true in Denmark. Queen Margrethe, they also think she faces left, but on the stamp she looks out. And on the coin, she looks to the right. But if you ask a Dane which way she faces on their coins, they will say, as most of us would, left. It's something to do probably with right-handedness. We just picture a profile that way. It's really strange, but because we handle these things every day, unless you're Giles when you have someone to do it for you. But it's bizarre that we just don't notice, isn't it?
So that's all coins.
All coins with the Queen's head on.
And how long has
since
that
the
been?
beginning, since the beginning of time.
Her reign.
Throne. No, it alternates between monarchs. So her father faced left.
Oh, I see.
And
So
his father, George V, not counting because the abdication was a wrinkle, but George VI.
So if you could get all the coins of all the monarchs together, or alternating monarchs, and just you could flick through them, they'd be doing,
It would. It would be like a tennis match. It would be exhausting. Which brings us to the unappealing nether regions of our show, the place that we call general ignorance. So hands on horns, if you'd be so kind. What should you do with your head if you have a nosebleed? Yes. You have to answer when you press the buzzer.
I'm doing it.
You should do that with your head.
Pressing
Your lip.
Pressing the bit about the pressing this bit below the nose, because the nose. Actually, not worry. A nosebleed won't harm you.
Okay. You might stain your clothes.
You might stain your clothes, but a nosebleed's all right. I mean, you could lie back.
Oh,
that's a bit.
Oh, you're so angry. You're so competitive. I like it.
No.
The point is, most people
back.
think you should tilt back.
No, I remember this. Because, you know...
Throat, then. It's horrible.
No.
And of course, you can get it into lungs if it goes down the wrong way.
And worse than that, this is why I should have remembered this. You lie back, it goes into you, but you could also, have a nosebleed through your eyes.
Oh.
It is possible to have a nosebleed that comes out of these bits.
Eye bleed.
eye bleed.
Yes, but it's a sort of misdirected nosebleed. Wrong to call it an eye bleed.
All right.
Because it's coming out from the nose part.
Just tilt your head forward from
Through
now
the
on.
eustachian tube. Or...
So the point is, forwards, not back.
Forwards, not back. Always forwards, not back.
Well, if it lasts for longer than 20 minutes, it is very much recommended to seek medical advice. And if you've caused it from anything other than the most common causes, which would be
Bouncy castle.
A bouncy castle, a classic, yeah.
Inevitable.
Oh, it's bound to happen.
Another one is being punched in the face. Right. That's one. Yeah. That can bring it on. Oh, there you are.
Oh.
That would do it. Yeah. That would do it.
Yeah,
Tilt your head forward.
Can you name them? I think it's Larry Holmes and
Sphinx, is it?
And the other one.
Ray Mercer, Merciless Ray Mercer, that is. Then there are various others. Blowing your nose too hard. Picking your nose, picking a little bit.
Picking your nose, poking it.
Yeah. You shouldn't tilt your head back if you have a nosebleed, it can be dangerous. Tilt your head forwards and pinch your nose, just like that, simple as that. And then eventually, after about 12 minutes or so, it'll clop naturally. What might happen if you swallow your tongue, Herr Mither? Yeah.
Nothing. I don't believe you can swallow your tongue.
Is the right answer, absolutely. That sort of busybody person who comes forward and says lots of hot sweet tea when someone's fainted or had a seizure, and they say, oh, do this and pull the tongue down because they might swallow it. It's just nonsense. You can't swallow your own tongue. It can't be done.
But what do they mean then when they say that?
Well, it might obstruct an airway, possibly. It's very rare.
If you have a bash and you bite it or something, it
Oh, you can
spills
bite your tongue, yeah, but you can't swallow it. You can't. I mean, there was literally this idea that you could, as it were, it goes backwards and down your throat and causes you to choke. That just cannot happen. And finally, why shouldn't you crack your knuckles?
Oh.
Is there lasting damage? Can you do lasting damage on the bone?
No!
Oh, you just did it.
Oh, no.
Problems?
Oh.
There-
But I think it's an old wives' tale that actually, if you do that, it causes arthritis. Because there was a famous doctor called Dr. Unger who believed that it did, and for 50 years, this doctor every day cracked the knuckles on his left hand and didn't on his right.
Well, but the story
And
is that his mother, when he was very young, he cracked the knuckles on both hands. And his mother said, you do that, honey, you'll get arthritis. And he thought, well, being of a scientific turn of mind already as a child, he thought, I will test this by only doing it on the fingers of my left hand.
Arthritis, and I'll show you how.
Exactly. So he did it on his left hand only, and for 60 years he cracked it. And then he had various tests, and there was no suggestion of arthritis on the left hand more than the right.
So you can crack
and
your
he
knuckle.
apparently shouted up, "You were wrong, mother. You were wrong."
Oh.
I've wasted my life.
You were wrong, Daddy, you were wrong.
Well, there we are. That is indeed the answer. You can't get arthritis from cracking your knuckles. At worst, you could end up with a limp handshake, and goodness knows what impression that'll give people. Which handily brings us to the heart of the matter, the scores. And the winner who really used his head, they're two heads, because, ladies and gentlemen, we have a tie for first place. On -8, it's Giles and Sue. But missing out on a hair's breadth with -12, Bill Bailey. Throwing his hands up in the air on -25, Alan Davies. So, all that's left for me is to thank Sue, Giles, Bill, and of course Alan. And I leave you with this. It's an anatomy lesson. In order to accustom medical students to the business of getting used to dead human flesh, an anatomy professor basically said to the class, look, you've got to get used to doing this. I need one of you students to come forward, your first year. He stood him by the body and said, you've got to do what I do. And he put his finger up the rectum of this dead body, like that, and then just sucked it. Said, I know, but you've got to learn how to be a doctor. So this medical student puts his finger up like that, went like that. He said, the other thing about being a doctor is you must be observant. I put my middle finger up the rectum and sucked my index. Thank you and goodbye. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Captain Fry speaking in, I hope, a very reassuring tone, welcoming you aboard this QI International Around the World trip. We have an impressive roster of VIP passengers on board with us tonight. International man of mystery, Jack D. Global phenomenon, Bill Bailey. Seasoned world traveller, David Mitchell. And from another planet entirely, Alan Davies. And gentlemen, if at any time you wish to get my attention, then please don't hesitate to use your call buttons. Jack goes...
IJsselmeer to Inverness, Gate B.
Bill goes...
Iran Air to Istanbul, last call.
David goes...
Air India to Islamabad, now closing.
And Alan goes...
Unexpected item in the bagging area. So,
we make sure that all your seats are in an upright position. We're cleared for takeoff. And don't forget that this year we're celebrating our ignorance, ladies and gentlemen, with the Nobody Knows round.
Nobody knows.
If you think that nobody knows the answer to that question, then you can wave your nobodies. You get a big bonus. On the other hand, if you wave it and you're wrong, you get a little bit of an old forfeit.
What are the points that you gain by using it correctly?
I think we all agree that nobody in this universe understands QI's scoring system.
Right. So, by that logic, were we to raise the subject of the scoring system and I was to do that, then...
It's made a very good point. I wonder what the score is now.
Yes, the score now. Amazingly, Bill has 3 and everyone else has 0.
Why 3? I'd have thought 1 or 10, but 3?
3.
How did you divide your contribution
Better than
by
you,
3?
better than you, better than you.
3. Let's get going, shall we? Now, if by some terrible, terrible concatenation of circumstances, both my co-pilot and I on this flight were suddenly taken ill, how would you land this plane?
Can't they just land themselves on an instruments landing?
Can't you...
I'd stop reading the Kindle on the steering wheel.
That would be a wise start, yes.
Don't you radio? There's the co-pilot slumped normally.
Yes.
In these situations.
Yeah, someone talks you in.
And somebody talks you in.
That's what happens in the movies, definitely, isn't
Yes,
it?
like Robert Duvall probably would be good.
Yes.
That's who I'd ring.
Or Lloyd Bridges in the case of Airplane, the movie.
Perfect choice.
Yeah.
Presumably there are legal problems with someone talking you down, though, because you could then subsequently sue if it was interpreted by your relatives that you were given bad advice. So probably these days the air traffic controller would refuse to give advice. So, I'm sorry, we're not covered for my saying something.
That's right. You'd have to sign a waiver and sort of text it to them, and then they would insurance would cover you to be talked down.
It is a minefield. Extraordinarily and happily, it has never occurred in commercial airline travel history that someone has been, as it were, oh gosh, can anyone fly this plane because the pilot and co-pilot are ill or dead? It's never actually happened, but it would be fraught with difficulty. They have tried various simulations. For example, those with American civil private pilot licenses in America who can fly light planes were invited onto simulators of big jets. Yeah. And one of them couldn't even operate the seat that moved him towards the control. Another one turned the radio off. Another one turned off the autopilot and instantly crashed the plane. So the fact is, it's incredibly difficult.
Stephen, am I allowed to say that in your uniform how incredibly unlike a pilot you look?
So what do I look like instead? Be brutal, be frank.
No, I think you'd be the chap who calls himself the bursar. Who comes round, he's got a big leather wallet and takes money for duty-free.
Yeah, calls himself the bursar.
Yeah.
Yes.
He calls himself the bursar?
Yes, I think he does, yeah.
Or the purser?
The purser.
The bursar is like the one that does the money for a
public school.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
What what kind of planes are you flying on?
Yeah.
Because the bursar will be collecting money for the end of term jamboree.
Here on a Charterhouse Air.
Yeah.
The bursar with the trolley, and then with the drinks, the groundsman.
Anyway, the fact is it's fraught with difficulty. The first problem you would have is simply getting into the cockpit, because since 9/11, of course, cockpits are locked. And if the pilot and the co-pilot were truly too ill to be able to fly, they may well be too ill even to let you in to the cockpit. But
do they have a secret knock? When they go and give them their lunch, though, surely they have to get in.
Yes.
So they must have a coded knock or something, like, it's me. I've got your lunch. Something like that. And they go, oh, must be the lunch.
It must be to do with the lunch. The lunch is. Now, why do I say lunch is?
Because there's more than one.
But why is there more? You are accruing points at a fantastic rate.
I tell you what.
Yes, there are more than one. But why would there be more than one lunch? Why would that?
They have to eat different meals.
Yes, the pilot and the co-pilot must eat different meals.
Oh, in case one of them gets botulism.
Exactly, so that if one is by accident poisoned or whatever. And in the case of extra long-haul flights, there are 3 pilots, not 2.
So you can't get into the cockpit. It's very, very dangerous. Never been done.
Yeah,
so...
and if it was on autopilot, you'd be able, obviously, to fly level and it would continue. But once you got into the landing situation, yes, the kind of film scenario would take over, whereby you would be told how to operate the flaps and at what speed. But there are so many variables in terms of glide path and vertical and horizontal axes and so on. It really is extraordinarily difficult. There is an auto-land system.
There's no way of flying it remotely, then, from the ground? Like with just somebody with a Wii or something, you know.
I don't know. Maybe one day.
Someone comes in the room.
What? Why?
It's a horrifying thought, but fortunately, as I say, it never has yet happened in major commercial air travel. It's calculated that the chances are 1 in 10 if it was an intelligent person and the plane was already on autopilot. They could be talked down. There's a 1 in 10 chance the plane would survive the landing. If it was not already in autopilot, probably 1 in 100.
This is not reassuring.
It's not, is it? There are points if you can give me within 5 years when the autopilot was invented.
Well,
1965.
1965 we've got there?
1970.
1970.
77.
I'm going to go for 1945.
Well, you're the closest, but you're still miles away. It's 1914. The first use of an autopilot was a Paris Air Show. It was an American inventor, and they were a huge success.
They big rubber band.
They stood on the wing.
Joystick.
A broom. Gyroscope. Look, no hands, you see. By yourself. It was a gyroscope. It got so popular, they would literally have the pilots standing on the wings. We've got a picture here showing you, I think, just how impressive it could be. Look at that.
Oh, people were just crazy at those days. All that stuff. That's when people went over Niagara Falls in a barrel.
Exactly. Those were the days of the barnstormers.
You wouldn't want to be ball boy, would you?
No, you wouldn't. But it's a surprisingly ancient invention in that sense. It was really
That's almost before aeroplanes were
Almost
invented.
is,
He
it?
probably
It
had
was-
this thing knocking around in his shed and hoped that something would be invented he could apply it to.
It was a gyroscopic corrective mechanism. It was pretty simple.
Is the modern autopilot still recognisably the same system?
No, I think it's a lot more
They
complicated.
don't have a gyroscope where you have to put a little bit of string in and wind it round.
But I mean, one of the
spinning.
worrying things I think about the autopilot is that the fact that it's on for most of the time you're in the plane. So they switch it off just before they land, switch it off just as they take off. They take off.
Yeah, they watch the telly, and then every now and then they go to that channel where the map is. So make sure they're heading in the right direction. Then they put Michelle Pfeiffer back on.
There are occasions there are, of course, long flights. But where is the shortest flight, the shortest commercial flight? Do you know? Ooh, Bill.
I think I might know this. I don't know. I'm going to try it. Here, I'll go out on a limb.
Yeah.
Is it the Orkney Isles?
Yes!
Is it?
Yes, it is! Oh, Bill, well done. It's
There's another 4.5 points.
It's between
27 and a half. I think.
it's between Westray and Westray Papa.
Yeah.
And it's usually done in around 2 minutes. Though the record has been 58 seconds from takeoff to landing. It's the distance.
Do you think people go, I hope it's a quick one today? I don't know.
The distance is shorter than the runway of Edinburgh Airport.
Do they just sort of take off, throw peanuts at you?
They may land.
Run up to it.
It is amazing.
Back again.
It is, but the most bizarre thing about it is the return ticket is £39.
Why don't they build a bridge? I'm assuming there's some sort of gorge to be got over.
I assume there is too.
No,
You do get a certificate and a miniature of Highland Park whiskey for doing the flight. So maybe people just get off on the idea of doing the shortest flight in the world.
Yeah, no, the sea's quite choppy around there. It's quite difficult. It is a bit like that. They just do the exits and and here we are.
Well, there we are. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've arrived at our first destination, which is India. And what I want to know is which of these two gentlemen is going to make the better policeman?
Well, one of them noticed the camera and is presumably about to arrest the photographer, and that seems to be what policemen do nowadays, so I'll go with that one.
Interesting.
I'll say the
And
one...
he's got a biro.
Yeah, the one with the pen. Writing notes down. And also the other one seems to be more concerned with how he's looking. He's smiling, chatting away. The other one's a bit more sober, more professional.
I think it's the guy in white behind them. He's plain clothes. He's mingling in. He's mingling.
You've missed the one detail that the state of Madhya Pradesh will actually pay policemen an extra 30 rupees a month to grow a moustache.
Really?
They consider that policemen are better. They're better in all kinds of ways. They're less intimidating. They work better with the community. They're more respected by the public. Yes, they're extraordinary.
It's
bad news for
never
police
ceases to
women.
disappoint.
Well, it's not unique to India. British had pretty weird ideas about moustaches. In India, they're considered a sign of virility, but at the moment there's a north-south divide. In the north of India, it's rarer to have moustaches because in Bollywood and the cricket team, of course, the great heroes tend not to have moustaches. But in the south, in Tamil cinema, they all have moustaches. Everybody has a moustache. And that is just considered absolutely...
It's Steve Wright in the afternoon, isn't it? I've never trusted a moustache. I'm pretty the other way.
That's very interesting, because in the British Army in 1860 onwards, it was a regulation that every soldier had to have a moustache. You could be imprisoned for shaving your upper lip. Right up until the First World War, then you had the option of being able to shave off your moustache. So it's not unique to India.
Why did they suddenly in the First World War? Suddenly we're fighting total war. The moustache, that was clearly ridiculous, the moustache. So surely they'd think, if we need moustaches, we need them more than ever now. I think it should be beards.
There, they give you a certain, don't they? Yeah. I think so. But this, yes, sort of thumb and style, is going to win. Thank you. It's going to win a war, isn't it? But as you can see there, that's British soldiers, typical British soldiers, all of them moustachioed.
I'm just imagining, Stephen, that moustache is going to have its own website by the end of it.
How long do you imagine the longest moustache in the world might be?
24 feet.
Well, that's a little bit too much, actually.
Okay.
It's 14 feet.
14 feet.
There it is. It's pretty impressive, isn't it?
Wow.
I mean, this man makes a living out of it. He was in the film Octopussy, oddly enough. I can't remember what he did with his moustache, but it is... it's pretty impressive.
Do you distrust him?
Deeply. Jeremy, if he turned up to do a bit of woodwork in the house, and he just did, well, I measure 14 feet. Well, I'd naturally feel...
You wouldn't want to stand at a urinal, would you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh dear.
Trailing around on the floor. He's ringing him out, that's what he's doing.
You might have to see a picture of some interesting moustaches there. But, and I have what you might call moustachabilia. These are real things used for people with moustaches that were used in the Great Moustache Growing period. This is simply to drink. It's a little silver, rather beautifully made thing you put in a cup so that you can sip through here without staining your moustache.
Keeps your moustache
Yeah, keeps your moustache nice and dry. Similarly with soup, you would want a soup spoon. You would just sip through that part there. Oh. So you take your soup like so, and you just... like that. And again, I keep my moustache nice and dry.
Nice and dry.
And what else have I got here? And this, you may remember that
I
something...
hadn't invented the straw.
Albert Finney. Albert Finney had something like this, didn't he, in Murder on the Orient Express? This is at night, when you wish to keep your moustache. No. And you put this round your ears, like that, and there.
What's that for, though? I mean, what... you say you want to keep your moustache. Keep your moustache from what?
Escaping.
Wild creatures of the night, I don't know. People who might come and nibble at it in the evenings.
There's a slight air of gimp about it.
There is something a little unusual, isn't there?
The odd thing is that people who are using that spoon and that drink cupboard, they're people who don't want to look stupid. I don't want to look like a complete arse.
An idiot.
So excuse me when I get out all my paraphernalia for keeping soup off my moustache.
It is true. What you're saying is entirely true. Oh dear, oh dear. Well, I'm going to take my moustache off now because it's causing me rather a lot of pain. Now, what did Mussolini want Italians to eat to make them big and strong? Oh, he had a national propaganda day for this foodstuff, and he wanted Italians really to take to it in a big way.
Was it a vegetable? Some sort of...
Not quite a vegetable.
Nuts.
Not nuts, no. It's something Italians do eat. They have a specialist dish.
Ravioli?
Risotto, which is made from
Rice,
exactly. And Mussolini wanted to kick Italians off the habit of eating pasta and to get them into the habit of eating rice. And Italians didn't take kindly for this at all. And so here are some paddy fields, some Italian ladies growing rice.
And singing while they do it.
And singing as they did it. And rather extraordinary, he had on his side the Futurists. You probably know about the Futurist movement, which was a bit like...
Not yet.
The Dadaists and the... not yet.
Very good.
Almost too quick. Yeah. That was brilliant. But the Futurists were an art movement, and they were pretty witty. And Filippo Tommaso Marinetti, who was one of the great Futurists, he said that pasta made Italians lethargic, pessimistic and sentimental. And this caused outrage, as I'm sure was his intention. He opened his own restaurant, and he had some extraordinary dishes. I mean, way ahead. I mean, ahead of Heston Blumenthal or anybody like that. Here, this is my favourite one. It's called Aero Food, all right? Pieces of olive, fennel and kumquat are eaten with the right hand while the left hand caresses various pieces of sandpaper, velvet, and silk. All the while, the diner is blasted with a giant fan and sprayed with the scent of carnation to the music of Wagner. Isn't that a dish? I think somebody should have the guts and the wit to open a futurist restaurant again. There are other ones. There was chicken fiat. A chicken is roasted with a handful of ball bearings inside. When the flesh has fully absorbed the flavour of the mild steel balls, chicken is served with a garnish of whipped cream. And there's one called the excited pig. A whole salami, skinned, is cooked in strong espresso coffee and flavoured with eau de cologne.
I think you've been to motorway services.
I quite like the idea of a chicken that tastes a bit of metal.
Yes. Moving to another country now, but around the same time. Which international head of state snubbed Jesse Owens after his triumph at the 1936 Olympics?
Oh, God.
Yes.
Hitler.
Oddly enough, it's not true. It's what the whole world thinks, but it isn't true. And we know this from no greater source than Jesse Owens himself. In fact, it's a really rather sad and a very typically, I'm afraid, unfortunate story. Jesse Owens, as you probably know, won 4 gold medals at the 1936 Berlin Olympics. The Olympics were stage managed, of course, by Hitler. Now, on the first day, Hitler congratulated only German winners. And someone said to him that he should either congratulate all the winners or none of them. So he said, well, in that case, I won't congratulate any winners. So as it happens, he didn't personally congratulate... He didn't personally congratulate Jesse Owens. Were you looking at that?
The bloke on the far right's just going like that.
That bloke on the far right
To be fair,
is
I
called Hermann Goering.
Surely they're all on the far right.
They're all just taking bets on how high the high jump was going to go.
The one on Hitler's left thinking I didn't get the memo. I didn't. At this start.
How to dress. Well, no, it is rather extraordinary. As I say, Hitler decided on the second day that he wouldn't congratulate anyone. So he didn't snub Jesse Owens at all. In fact, according to Jesse Owens, he said, when I passed the Chancellor, he arose, waved his hand at me, and I waved back at him. Hitler didn't snub me. It was... Who snubbed him?
So Hitler wasn't such a bad guy after all.
No, it's not that. It's not that.
The jury's still out.
Hitler is, we know, is bad. It just so happened he didn't snub Jesse Owens.
King of England.
No, FDR.
Oh, bastard.
The president of his own country. Now, it's a terrible story here. It was FDR who snubbed me. The president didn't even send me a telegram. He won 4 gold medals. When I came back to my native country, after all the stories about Hitler, I couldn't ride in the front of the bus. I had to go to the back door. I wasn't invited to shake hands with Hitler, but I certainly wasn't invited to the White House to shake hands with the president either. He had to use the goods lift of the Waldorf Astoria to get into the reception for returning US athletes, as he wasn't allowed to use the front door.
So Sandi Davies Jr. couldn't go in the front door of the hotels in Vegas where he was performing.
I know. It is simply astonishing.
He had to go in through the kitchen.
Yeah.
That still happens to me, though, sometimes.
Now then, moving on elsewhere again. Where does the rainwater that falls into this creek go? It's in Wyoming, I should say. Yes, you're right! You're very good at this. As you probably know, round about the Rockies there is the Continental Divide, and rainwater that falls one side of the Continental Divide will drain into the Pacific, the other side will drain into the Atlantic or the Gulf of Mexico. But in this particular place,
Nobody knows.
it's called North Two Ocean Creek in Wyoming. Nobody, as you rightly say, knows. And there it is. And now, fasten your seatbelts and assume the brace position as we head into a spot of unexpected general ignorance. Fingers on buzzers, please. Name the world's largest pyramid.
Don't know the name of any pyramid.
Is that one in the middle?
I'm so sorry.
Am I really that predictable?
I'm afraid you are. Terrible thoughts.
Well, I don't know. I'm going to say something that will be wrong, like Giza or something like that.
Yeah, well, that's where we're looking. We're looking at the three great pyramids of Giza there in northern Cairo.
It's not an Aztec one.
Yes, it is. It is. It is. I wouldn't expect you to know its name. If you did, I would give you 40 points.
I don't know its name, but I'll spit out some consonants.
It's called Cholula.
Oh, Cholula.
Cholula.
I was definitely going to go a lot more.
No, it's not Popocatépetl or one of those. It's the Cholula pyramid, and although it's got a flat top and it's not as high, its cubic capacity is much bigger. It's 4.3 million cubic yards as opposed to Khufu or Cheops 3.36.
It's not actually a pyramid, though, is it?
No. Well, actually, according to archaeologists and others, that qualifies as a pyramid. There is a word for a pyramid with a flat top. Might you know it?
Unfinished.
Due for completion early BC 497.
It's called a frustum. When was the First World War first named as such?
The outbreak, the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand.
You think they called it the First World War straight away?
Before it started.
It would be an act of a pessimist to call it the First World War that early, surely. It's going to be some point after 1939, isn't it?
A realist, surely.
So
it's going to be more of these.
Yeah.
At what point?
Excuse me. I think what I said, people in the box, is after 1939, which may contain 1939, but does not mean it.
No. Well.
After 1939 and after the Second World War are not synonymous. Now, this is just giving you time to type after 1939. Why don't you just type, Mitchell is a cop?
I wouldn't put it past them. Now, the surprising news is that it was in 1918 that it was first called the First World War. And there's a British officer called Lieutenant Colonel Charles Court Repington, who recorded in his diary of the 10th of September that he met with a Major Johnson of Harvard University to discuss what historians should call the war. Repington said to call it the war was no good, because that wouldn't last, which was being called. To call it the German War was giving too much credit to the Bosch. I suggested the World War, Repington said. Finally, we mutually agreed to call it the First World War in order to prevent the Millennium folk from forgetting that the history of the world was the history of war. And in 1920, he published a book called The First World War, 1914 to 18.
But wasn't it called the Great War for a long time?
For a long time, it had been called the Great War, but there had been another Great War before that. Do you know what the Great War was before?
The Napoleonic War?
The Napoleonic War had been called the Great War, yes. So wars do change their names. There you are. And with that, we reach our final destination. But please remain seated for the scores. Oh, my goodness me. Well, I'm afraid very much in the bucket class with minus 44 is David Mitchell. Standing room only at the back with minus 27 is Jack D. Well, a surprising amount of legroom at minus 10 is Alan Davies. Which means that tonight's first-class passenger with 4 points is Bill Bailey. So, thank you for flying with QI International. My cabin crew, David, Jack, Bill, and Alan, and I wish you a pleasant onward journey. And don't forget the wise words of Halvard Lange, Prime Minister of Norway and citizen of the world, who said, "We do not regard Englishmen as foreigners. We look on them only as rather mad Norwegians." Good night. Welcome to QI, where we're having a veritable chimp's tea party with jam, jelly and juice. And joining me for my midnight feast, we have the jam-smothered Joe Brand. The jelly-slathered Lisa Tarbuck. The juice-bedribbled Sue Perkins. And don't do that on the floor, please. Alan Davies. Well, it's a midnight feast, and just in case anyone sees Matron coming, I've equipped my pals with buzzers. Joe goes. Lisa goes. Sue goes. And Alan goes. It's my party time. Oh. And what? So it begins with J and appears to be alive.
Is it me?
You begin with J and are most magnificently, radiantly alive.
He's on the turn.
Lisa.
James Blunt.
Closer, I grant you. Yeah.
Jeremy Clarkson.
Oh! This is something that appears to be alive and quite obviously isn't.
Jedward, then. I'm revising my...
So much work
Take care
to
of
do. Yes, but in order to find out whether the brain is working, there's a machine that is used by doctors, an electroencephalograph, and you can tell whether a brain is alive by attaching it. And there is something that quite manifestly isn't alive, but if you attach that same machine to it, will give off the same signals as a brain.
Is it jelly?
Yes.
Fucking hell. I can't quite believe how intelligent I am sometimes.
No,
How did I get that?
It was wonderful.
You're a genius. Is it any type of jelly, or is it...
Well, sort of large jelly in a mould on which you could fit the electrodes of an EEG.
Oh, that kind of jelly, right.
From its EEG results alone, it would not qualify as sufficiently dead to have its life support removed. That's the point. I know that seems insane. The reason it
All
seems...
the other jellies sitting around the bedside weeping.
Yes. He's still alive, he's still alive. You can't turn it off.
Comforting one another.
Yeah, yeah.
One outside having a fact.
One wobble for yes, two wobbles for no. Neurologist Adrian Upton examined the electroencephalography of gelatin desserts, as he put it, to make a serious point about brain death. Because what happens is the jelly picks up extraneous electrical signals in the room from sources like respirators, IV drips, even ringing telephones. The implication is that a brain apparently generating similar signals may in fact be quite dead. On the other hand, it may well be quite alive. It isn't enough to use an EEG to tell whether someone's alive, that's the point.
So jelly is always wobbling just a little bit.
It's always going to be wobbling a little bit. But it is rather extraordinary, isn't it? An amazing thought. At least I think it is.
Lovely thought.
It doesn't mean that EEGs are useless. They just have to be considered with other things to suggest whether or not someone is conscious or alive.
Is that an excitable jelly just there that's suddenly flatlined?
It's flatlined, yes. Anyway, there's probably enough jelly for the moment. Maybe more, you never know. Jelly is made from boiled up pig skin. Name as many uses for a pig as you can.
Bacon.
Bacon is one.
Truffle snuffling.
Medicine stuff, medicine cases for tablets and...
Oh, for women in pregnancy, doesn't it bring on for inducing pregnancy?
It does
it's
if one
hormones.
runs through your front row.
Absolutely staggering what you can get out of a pig.
Yoghurt.
Yes, I have a list. Christian Mindersma wrote a book called Pig 05049, which is an anonymous pig. And beyond the obvious foodstuffs, she found different parts of this animal offered the following pork derivatives. From the skin alone, safety gloves, cosmetic surgery, collagen, comes from pigskin. Energy bars, which also have collagen in. Low-fat butter, chewing gum, X-ray film, drug capsules, bread, flour improver made from pig hair, would you believe? Flour, I know. The skin is also used for tattoo practice. And ballistic gelatin. That's just the skin, and then there's the internal organs, pet food, tambourine skins are made from a pig's bladder. The old tambourine.
I knew those folkies were evil.
Yeah.
There are many thousands of people who are alive because of a pig's valve from their heart. From the bones, cheap wine corks, would you believe? Stabilising propellant and bullet making, inkjet paper, concrete, match heads, bone china, train brakes, yoghurt, which you correctly mentioned.
What's a train brake? Like
it's
where you
stopping
go
a
to
train.
Scotland for the
yeah,
weekend?
for stopping it.
It's just the legs. He's a trotter out. He just leans forward.
Fabric softener. Who knew? Beer, wine, ice cream. From the fat, biodiesel, soap, shampoos, crayons. From the blood, cigarette filters, amazingly. Toothpaste. And also paintbrushes. Chemical weapons testing. The ears are used in chemical weapons testing. Don't ask me why. I should hasten to add that not all toothpaste and not all yogurt contain it. But if you are a Muslim or Jewish, you've got a hell of a problem discovering what's got pig in it.
You have your work cut out.
You have your work cut out like a silhouettist. According to Bloomberg, there are 42 major areas of manufacturing that entirely rely on pork products. Which is quite astonishing what that one animal can do. It's the only farmyard animal, if you discount truffle hunting, that is only useful when dead. Has no
Oh,
use.
you say that. You've never gambled with a pig.
Oh, I
Come
know.
on. You're terrible gamblers. Poker, blackjack.
But obviously ducks and geese and hens lay eggs and goats give milk and cows give milk and sheep
Companionship?
companionship.
Love.
I know they do offer those. It is
My
true.
brother's got a pig, and that's very true of that one.
Yeah, they are very endearing animals. Of
Tell him
course,
to be careful, though, because I knew a farmer that had a heart attack while he was feeding his pigs, and they ate him.
Oh, yes. Well, I'm afraid.
Don't want to get into a pen with one that's approaching sexual maturity, as I know to my cost.
Really?
Yeah. It's basically like
How
a
are the piglets?
They've got names, Alan. So yeah,
Porky
it's
and
like...
Perkins.
Pinky and Perkins.
It's scary. It's like a pork piano, because they breed pigs very long now, because everyone likes chops.
That's right.
So you get incredibly long
With a
pigs.
huge row of udders you
Yes.
can see on the sour country.
And, yeah, just runs at you in a sort of matey way.
This was obviously the boar.
Yes.
The male.
She wasn't interested.
No, she
Although I
wasn't.
was trying to catch her eye.
The lovely thought. Anyway, there you are. From jelly to juice. I've got jumbo wrists and I'm covered in tit juice. What have I been up to?
You've changed.
Is it a night out with Tarbuck and Perkins?
Jumbo wrists and covered in tit juice.
Sound like a milkmaid.
Do you mean tit juice as in bosoms or as in a bird?
Nor indeed neither. It's an occupational hazard. Fishing. It is a fisherman's occupational hazard. There is a boat. The fishing boat.
There's
yes.
Lara, covered in tit juice.
Yeah. Well, you get jumbo
Slathered.
wrist simply from repetitive strain injury from gutting fish. But tit juice conjunctivitis, to give its proper name, is the acute swelling of the eyes caused by the juice of tits, which is sometimes called duffs, but tits is the most common name for them, which are described in the Ship Captain's Medical Guide as marine growths that look like suet dumplings with finger-like growths protruding from them. When they get caught in fishing nets, they explode, releasing millions of tiny silicon needles which go into the fisherman's eyes.
God.
So that's what causes the swelling.
Is this sort of stuff just generally in sort of lakes and rivers and oceans and we haven't
Well,
seen it?
if you work every day amongst fish, there's all kinds of stuff on there aside from the fish you're trying to catch. For example, there's a thing called Dogger Bank itch.
I'm guilty as charged. You too?
You've got Dogger Bank there.
All I said was...
Yeah.
You can also get haddock rash.
Why are you looking at me?
That's an inflammation between the fingers from gutting
I
white
do
fish.
often take a fish to bed with me, and then I can say to my husband, "Not tonight, dear. I've got a haddock."
suddenly got that. That's very good.
It does sound like, actually, when you've just given birth as well. Because all those fittings, you do have swollen.
Oh
bits
yes. A lot of women, when they give birth, can't take their wedding ring off ever again, can they?
No, and they're pissed off about it.
So tit juice conjunctivitis, jumbo wrist and dogger bank itch are occupational hazards of fishermen. Now, describe Marie Antoinette's breast cups.
Oh, yes. I know the answer to this because I've seen one. They, not her bosoms, but they modelled various plates and cups and things on boobs.
Yes.
I hate the word breasts.
I do too.
Let's just say jugs.
Bosoms.
Tits.
I like titties.
Do you? You heard it here first.
Will you say that
as
again?
a word, titties.
I like it. It's official.
Yeah.
In the morning.
All day long.
A lovely bunch of
But they're kind of
titties.
rather old-fashioned titties. I like titties.
There was one had a little nipple as well.
They
so
were,
you-
you're
you
absolutely
could-
right. It was during that phase she had, which was started by Madame la Pompadour, which was of pretending to be a peasant. She lived in the most sophisticated, glittering palace in the world, in Versailles, but she liked to pretend to be a milkmaid. She had gold churns hanging off and things like that. This was considered to be incredibly...
It's a massive cow.
That's... Yes,
What's the size of it?
or a very small little girl. I did one or the other. Anyway, the great porcelain works of Sèvres in France made for her, at the command of King Louis XVI, these extraordinary cups, which were like breasts. There you can see the nipple, out of which she would drink milk. That's the kind you're talking about. You've
Yes,
seen.
exactly, yeah.
They're on display in Petit Trianon, which was her little sort of farmyard, her play farmyard. And you can buy replicas if you wish to have one in your own house. I'm sure.
I do.
I want two.
Then you know where to go.
I want a pair.
Yes, you should have a pair, to be
you should
honest.
have a pair.
A matching pair, ideally.
No one wants to drink out of a lone boob.
There is a bra makers who say that they can tell what size you are just by looking at you, which I think is quite impressive. So I had to go along and find out. And they usher you into a room and get you to take everything off. And this woman looked at me and went, not quite as bad as I'd expected.
What a nerve.
I also think, you go down and you have to gird yourself up for these things. You're showing your titties off. And this woman's just come in with 3 people that she's training, gone like that with the curtain, looked at me and gone, can't help you. Shut up.
Shocking.
Yeah, it really was shocking.
I'll make you a bra, but I can't help it.
We don't get this problem from our underpanters, do we?
Certainly do not.
Mr. Klein will hand over his pants to you without any opprobrious comments. How extraordinary. The things you girls go through.
Terrible.
It's been counted.
There are those titties again.
Tonight's the night you turn.
What's the other myth about Marie Antoinette's breasts that has persisted to this day? Do you know about to do with
They
another
lived
drink?
on after her death.
Champagne
Yeah.
comes in either a flute or tulip glass or in a
nipple kind of.
a coupe. It's called a coupe, yes.
one.
And there was this idea that the coupe was based on the size and shape of Marie Antoinette's breasts. But the standard coupe, it appears, would make her a 36B, and paintings show that she was likely to be a little bigger than that.
I love it that someone's done that research.
Yes.
You know those fantastic, massive china cooking bowls that sort of have a lip on the edge of them?
Oh,
that you
yes.
do mix that. They're based on my titties.
You know, an ironing board. They're based on
Oh, stop. No. You've all
I'm
got
saying nothing.
lovely. All got
I've
perfect.
seen St Paul's.
Wouldn't it be dull if every street had exactly the same frontage everywhere? Wouldn't it be dull if all girls had the same frontage?
Yeah.
Quite, exactly. We've all got lovely frontages. Now, so milk and the fad for dairy was very popular amongst French nobles right up until the point when the guillotine cured all their problems permanently. So what's the smallest thing that you can milk?
Ooh. Well, it's got to be a mammal, hasn't it? Because only mammals produce milk.
Well, that's not strictly true.
An insect.
It's an insect, yes. It's an
a
insect that
cockroach.
ruins the lives of thousands.
Mosquito.
Not quite as bad as a mosquito, which ruins the lives of
Wasp.
millions. Tsetse fly is the right answer. The tsetse fly is unique in being a terrible... They're very ugly and unpleasant. And believe me, if you've been bitten by one, it is horrible. It's a disgustingly painful...
Have you been bitten by one?
Very painful. In Kenya somewhere. It was really, really unpleasant. Well, I did not get sleeping sickness, fortunately, which is, kills, about 48,000 people a year. But this is unique. The female fly keeps her eggs and larvae inside her uterus, where she makes a liquid rich in fats called intrauterine milk. She eventually gives birth to one larva at a time, so it's genuinely suckled by its mother.
So it's sucking from like a milk sack.
Yes, this intrauterine milk. Extraordinary, isn't it? But otherwise, it's a vicious creature and much unwanted. They're also host to a symbiotic bacterium called Wigglesworthia, named after someone called, of course, Jones. No, obviously. Wigglesworth was an expert on kissing bugs, which are blood-sucking insects that kiss you around the mouth and lips. Very unpleasant.
I've had a few of them.
They bite humans on the face and lips, and as they feed, they also defecate, annoyingly. And as they defecate, the parasite inside their feces causes...
I don't know why you're looking at me.
Causes...
Not you.
Causes something called Chagas disease, which is extremely unpleasant. Anyway,
Chagas?
Not Chagas. It makes you take your clothes off on Channel 5. No, it's not. It's Chagas, not Chagas. But the Wigglesworthia is interesting because it has the smallest genome of any known living thing. So it's very important in genetics to discover it as an organism, to see what the absolute minimum genome necessary is for life.
We've got some quite small gnomes in our garden as well.
No genome... no.
You've got the fishing genome.
The fishing genome.
Crossing the bridge genome.
The G is silent.
The IT genome.
But what's interesting, and might save hundreds of thousands of African lives, is that without that particular Wigglesworthia, female tsetse flies are sterile. So we could eradicate them as a problem in Africa, which would be a good thing. So anyway, that's the tsetse fly. It's only a centimetre long, not even a mammal, but it gives birth to live young, which it feeds on milk. It's party treat time now. Isn't this exciting? I've got something really interesting for you to try. It's powdered miracle berry. Now, you should have a little cup like this. So if you can instantly put that pill, as it were, that's in your cup, in your mouth, I promise you it's not going to hurt you.
We don't even question.
Don't swallow it.
Just do it.
Don't swallow it. Please do it. Don't swallow it.
Show me your
Don't swallow
kiddies.
it.
We've been down this road before, mister.
Only bite it when you see the whites of the eyes.
Don't bite it. Don't bite it. Just really roll it around your mouth. Roll it around your tongue. It's quite sweet. It takes a little time for it to work, but when it does work, it's rather extraordinary.
It's like a dead refresher.
Yeah, it is, exactly that. It's exactly what it's like. But just to try and do a bit of action on it, just so that you can get it to dissolve, spread all over your tongue. It is quite miraculous. It's why it's called a miracle fruit. It's rather exciting.
I've slightly crunched mine.
Oh, well, don't worry. Don't swallow. Don't swallow. Just keep...
Why not?
Keep it in your mouth. There's a good reason. I want for it to cover all of your tongue, because it does something extraordinary to your tongue, and that's what you're going to discover. So keep sucking. Keep sucking.
I must remember this speech.
Yeah. If you made them swallow...
It does something extraordinary to your tongue. Don't swallow it.
So do you feel you've got more or less coated yourself in it?
Yeah.
What it does is it actually gets rid of your tongue's ability to detect sour and bitter. So I want you to just take a bite on this lemon. You'll find, when you bite on the lemon, that it's not exactly sweet, but that it really has taken away 90% of its sourness.
I'm going in.
Isn't it? Your whole pill.
I've done a lot of coating.
Oh, that's delicious.
Isn't it? It's extraordinary, isn't it?
Oh, that's good, isn't it?
None of you has
really
pulled the kind of...
lovely. That is like a really sweet orange.
Exactly. It's
I'm going to
bizarre.
regret it later.
It is a most extraordinary experience.
I love that.
And that will last. That will last for about half an hour, 20 minutes, half an hour.
I'm going to have chronic
You'll be able to
gastritis
have
in 20
lime.
minutes.
And it was very popular, this miracle fruit. They used to have parties where they'd have this kind of rainbow of different flavours that would occur because it takes away your ability to taste the bitter or the sour, or indeed the salt. So everything becomes sweet, but it retains a little of its own flavour. But it doesn't. It does work.
Amazing.
It is absolutely.
Although it is vitamin C, so internally I'm rebelling.
Just for the very fact that it might even be slightly healthy.
Absolutely. Now, a friend of mine used to go and feed the horse at the bottom of his garden when he was a kid bits of lemon because it used to make brilliant faces.
That's just naughty.
It is cruel.
That's very naughty.
Very entertaining.
I'm going to save one of my puppies. I'm going to have one later. I'm going to give one to a friend.
Yeah.
It's just...
We've witnessed something big tonight. Yeah. It's all over.
It will taste lovely for half an hour.
My favourite word is tea. It's not sour anymore, is it? Not sour anymore. Right, it's so round
bad, you people. Honestly,
honestly.
You're so naughty tonight. I'm really very, very disappointed. I thought the girls would be well behaved. I'm just so wrong.
You just put it in your dirty. You just put it in our mouths.
That's what girls are so good at. It's the innocent, wide-eyed... Anyway, miracle berries have the miraculous property of making sour things taste sweet. So, now, which international institution had one man and his dog as members?
That was it?
Members. No, they had lots and lots of other members.
But they weren't men, presumably.
All the others were women and human.
The WI?
Yes, the WI.
Really?
And Lassie.
The WI wasn't that particular man, by the way. This is an example, in case you're incredibly
No, 'cause
stupid,
if you're
of what a
only
man and a
allowed
dog
one-
look like. Because you might not know.
He's
Very
literally
poor
blowing
picture of a
smoke
dog.
up its arse.
The bloody dog moved. Well, we'll have to use it. We're out of film.
When the WI was formed, the nascent WI, this particular man, Colonel Richard Stapleton Cotton, was an enormous fan, a great admirer, and so
Popped a frock on.
he and his dog Tinker were both members and paid their annual fees. But they were the only males ever to be members. Guess which country the WI was started in? Canada.
Brazil.
Yes!
Oh,
Good
bloody
God,
hell,
how'd you
well
do
done.
that?
I'm on a roll, I don't know, I just
He's
know
on a
WI
roll.
stuff, I don't know.
Canada, he said, in case you knew. Started in Canada, absolutely right. It was the Women's Department of the Farmers Institute of South Wentworth, with the aim to promote that knowledge of household science which will lead to improvement in household architecture, with special attention to home sanitation. But then, of course, it broadened its horizons. It was said that the WI should be grave and gay, which is nice.
Yeah, that sounds like me.
And should explore the world together and learn as much about growing roses in your garden or trimming hats as about darkest Africa or Bolshevism. So, which is why they're also famous for having lecturers coming to address them. They absorb knowledge, and they do extraordinary amount of charity work, of course. They donate 24 million hours of their time to community work every year in the UK. And, of course, there's a double J association with the WI, as it's our letter J. It's a sort of nickname for
Jam
it.
and Jerusalem.
Jam and Jerusalem. Jerusalem is their anthem, and jam making is what people think they do. But obviously their remit is wider, and they were very patriotic during the war, did all kinds of things, especially with rabbits. Turning bunnies into bombs was their slogan, as they tried to breed rabbits for food.
That picture that we saw earlier, I wish I'd been born in that time.
You like those dowdy hats?
I like those. I wouldn't have had to make any effort whatsoever. It looks great.
But everybody spoke like that. Didn't they? Everybody talked like that all the time.
Look at those berets, amazing. They don't look very cheerful, and one of them's knitting, which is...
One-handed, which is really... And there's Arthur Askew on the end.
They're voting, shall we allow the Colonel and his dog to become members? And
Yes,
they're
go
all
on.
voting yes.
Who's been felt up by the Colonel? Dirty little bugger. And that dog always sniffing around.
Oh, dear. Anyway, Colonel Stapleton Cotton was his name, and his dog Tinker. They're the only two non-females ever to be admitted to the Women's Institute. I've got something interesting to show you now, so I want you to tell me what it is, quite simply. What's the name for one of them?
Well, it's a Toby jug, isn't it?
No, this is known as a character jug.
Oh.
If you want to know what a Toby jug looks like, that.
Wow.
Toby
Isn't
joke.
that pretty?
The whole person.
The whole
Okay.
person.
Yes. If it's a head, it's called a character joke. But I've got something more interesting, I think. I hope you're going to like. It's got water in it. All you have to do is drink the water without spilling it. It's got holes in it, so if you lift it, it's got holes in it. So if that's not going to work, do you see? No. So you've got to try and
Right,
work
I'm
it
going to hollow
out.
out this biro.
All
Use it
right.
as a straw.
Like that.
I'm evolving.
Ah, you're getting there. You're getting there. So what are you doing? But no, don't pour it because the water will come up. Look at the handle. The handle is connected to the bottom. So if you could suck
got it.
one of those tubes, cover the holes,
The other hole.
and then suck through there. But there's a secret hole
Hole
you've
there.
got to cover too.
Get those two.
Look under. No, look under the handle. Look under the top of the handle.
Oh,
That
that's
flute
there.
stop.
There's a
If you
hole there
cover
as well.
that and the other two holes, then you can. Then,
Bit of a palaver.
there, yes.
They not
Just an electrical hazard.
So like
waiting.
this.
John Lloyd just
Now,
said
that's it. Now you can suck it. It's just don't tip it.
Oh, bollocks.
Sorry. Well, neither of you got there first. You got the principle straight away.
It's like
Now
evolution,
I know how to do
basically.
it. I will never go.
Yeah.
Could we
still
just have some
primordial
sandwiches?
Got every hole covered.
No, you haven't. Don't drink from
Liar.
the top. You have to suck from. Look.
Suck from there.
Show her.
I'm
Yeah.
sucking from there, right?
You're right.
Go on,
Oh,
I'm
so
sucking
keep.
from there, and I'm holding there.
And have you found
Yes.
the other hole?
Now suck
No,
it.
don't tip it. Suck without tipping. It's a hollow
wet,
handle.
darling.
The point is, the handle is hollow.
wet
So if you
T-shirt
have
with
to-
Liquor what?
What you're doing, I'll try and show the
Arsenal for
Here it
people
is.
how to drink and
Here
not
it
to
is.
spill. Will try the utmost of your skill.
Skill. And this one says, to drink and not to spill will try the utmost of your skill. Exactly. That's what it says.
Mine
So-
says you're an idiot.
So this is a hollow. This is hollow. There's water in the bottom. It's got a little stop, like a flute or a recorder here. So you've got to cover that up, and it's got a hole here and a hole here. And if I do that, I can now just simply suck. But it's a little puzzle, John. We thought you might have a little bit of fun with it. Which brings us to the sticky end of the scores. And my word, well, I've never seen anything like it in all my born puff. In last place with a magisterial, she did start with 2 -10s in a row, so she didn't do that badly after. But she ended with -22, Sue Perkins. And a highly creditable -5, Lisa Charbach.
Thank you very much.
Well. Which one? One of you got 4 points. 4 whole points. 4 plus points. It's a big
Please,
score
for
on
the feminists,
QI.
let it
It's
be a
Joe
lady.
Brand.
Oh, she is!
To the astonishing news that tonight's winner, with +11, is Alan Davies.
In women on television has failed.
Well, we can call him a jammy bugger. And that's all from Lisa, Sue,
Well, I'm a jammy
Joe,
bugger.
Alan and me. Good night. Welcome to QI, where tonight we're cantering through the whole kit and caboodle. It's a catch-all that can cover anything and anyone, including the wild expanse of Ross Noble. The far reaches of Noel Fielding. The sweeping vistas of Colin Lane. And the frozen wastes of Alan Davies. So, catch my attention if you can. Ross goes. Noel goes. Colin goes. And Alan goes.
Stephen! Stephen! I want
Now, in case anybody's wondering, because he hasn't done that much television in Britain, we found Colin in Australia. Colin, in 1994, you won the Perrier Award, didn't you? For comedy at the Edinburgh Fringe. Which is an incredibly distinguished award to win, as I know.
But you haven't won the Perrier Award, Stephen.
Yes, I did win it, yes.
Oh, you did?
I was my group was the first to win it, ever. Yeah.
The first?
As it happens, yeah. But I wonder who you beat in 1994. Who came second?
There are a few other nominees. I think the main competition came from a little fellow. His name was Alan Davies. Alan Davies, yes.
And then I went to Melbourne and I stayed at Colin's house and he put the Perrier Award on the bedside table.
To look in the loft for it. And the Perrier Award, Alan, was like a piece of wood with like a silver Perrier bottle on top with a little cap on it that kind of just fell off a couple of days after we got it. And the award for Best Newcomer was a lovely... Really? That was you? That was you! That's a trophy, isn't it? It's a big oblong perspex with the shape of a Perrier bottle made out of bubbles inside it. It's really nice.
I gave it to my mum. Yeah.
Anyway, it's enough inspecting our own bottoms. It's embarrassing. So, suggest, if you may, some uses of kitty litter that don't involve a kitty. Oh. I've got some kitty litter.
Anyone could use it for absorbing their urine, couldn't they?
Well, you could use it in the same way that a kitty would use it, yeah, because it does soak up.
Can you, like, when you drop your phone in the loo, you're supposed to put it in a tub of rice to get the moisture out?
Indeed.
Can you do that with cat litter?
There's an episode of Elementary which is based on that very fact.
There's an episode of Jonathan Creek where I weed in some cat litter. The character Jonathan.
Let's work backwards as to how that could possibly be a plot line that you peed.
I just got trapped in the cellar for ages and I needed a wee.
Oh, I see. That's fair enough.
When you're at school, when people throw up, don't they put cat...
Sawdust. That's a good thing to do. Exactly. Anything like that.
I used to have this sort of weird brown sand.
Yeah, and they say there's nothing to see here, but there is, isn't there?
Yes.
It's a really good
There's a lot to see.
Also, I would draw a chalk line around it like it had died.
Yes. The scene of the body.
The skill was to make it in the shape of a dead body.
Like a mammal. A raccoon has died.
It's always a bit of fun to put it in a sugar bowl so that when somebody adds it to their tea, tea's gone.
Probably the most profitable use, bizarrely, was by the American tobacco industry. Can you imagine why that might be? There's a tax on tobacco, obviously. There was a tax on small cigars, and American tobacco companies...
Filters?
They bulked up their small cigars to become big cigars, using, amongst other things, the ingredients of cat litter, which is disgusting. That's a big cigar.
I think that's someone's leg.
Yes.
Eating someone.
That is enormous.
I think they bulked that one up too much.
That's a normal-sized cigar, I think, but she's just a very small woman.
They apparently reduced their tax take on tobacco by over $1 billion this way, by bumping small cigars into the big cigar category.
But unfortunately, a lot of cats left up weed on their faces. I'm going to celebrate the deal.
Why did they choose kitty litter as
it was because it's a kind of neutral stuff that burns, that doesn't really taste of anything unpleasant, and is cheap, and it isn't tobacco, so it doesn't have a tax on it.
What about just some soil? Maybe that would be cheaper than kitty litter.
The trouble with the soil is it wouldn't burn, and it would taste unpleasant.
What about air?
It's the foot pump.
There's still some helium, so that you just have your cigar and you don't have to hold it. You just take your hand away, it just floats there like that, and then you can just go back to it.
And then you go,
This is a lovely cigar. It's enormous.
So it's highly flammable. So basically, if a kitten...
It's not highly flammable. You just burn it like tobacco.
it doesn't go.
You can put a cupful of litter in a pair of tights. Bear with me. Tie off the top and leave it in your shoes overnight for freshness. There's a hint. Yes, someone's going to try that in the audience. Someone's got a teenage son with smelly trainers. Trainers?
Is that what we're
What are you doing to me? I said trainers.
Oh yeah, he's laughing now. Any minute now, I'll go... So when you see the male ballet dancers in their tights, is that what the... Is that what's sort of put there?
Yeah.
They lift and they'll go...
It may...
Fresh.
Look.
Go on, love, smell that. Eat your dinner off that.
Yeah, the point is, the last thing that kitty litter needs is a kitty, really. You can use it for so many other things. Name the product which put Kendall on the map.
Oh.
I'm being pointed at.
Let's do it one letter at a time.
Yeah.
I love saying that word as well. Those words together.
Do you?
Yeah.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Anyone who doesn't
Kendall
know where
mint
we're all
cake.
British, British.
What?
There is a mint cake which went up Everest to the first, the conquering of Everest, and Scott took
Very
on the...
high sugar. It's good for giving you energy when you're up a
It's
mountain.
rather delicious, actually.
I see.
But it's not what put Kendall on the map, as it were. Kendall became famous for another product. And it's actually extraordinary. It's a machine that was built in 1750 and is possibly the oldest still working machine in the world. It's still producing the same stuff now. It was actually built to make gunpowder. But quite early on in its life, it was schlepped down to Kendall by ass or donkey, and then started to make what it still makes to this day, which is of the same consistency as gunpowder.
That map's only of any use, really, if you're going driving to Kendall.
If you absolutely right. It's not much use for anything else. And even then, it's pretty vague.
I used to sell those maps, and people would come in and go, I'm going to Birmingham, and I go, no, you can't.
Yeah, I've only got a Kendall map.
Do you use it in the home?
We nowadays very rarely use it. It was the most popular form of delivery of this drug up until about 1900.
Nicotine?
Nicotine is the right answer. How was nicotine most delivered? Snuff. Kendall has a snuff mill that has been going since 1750 and still produces snuff.
Ah, the old Kendall snuff mill.
The old Kendall snuff mill.
I knew that.
I have some snuff for you to try in different flavours. You can see whether the lid is lying or not. These special QI lids. You can take it if you want. You obviously inhale it up the nose.
You do it all, right?
Oh. You're going to see it all. Don't do it all, no. It's very sharp. It is. It's sharp. Oh, you're licking it. Gums. Oh, moustache. It is quite sharp. What's your flavour say?
It says Christmas pudding.
You got Christmas pudding?
Right. Honestly, it's fine. It's good. Put it in your eyes.
This is probably the only time my nan's going to watch me on telly, and I'll be like that the whole show.
What do you reckon, Colin?
Oh, that is the flavour says kitty litter. That is awful.
You're not a fan?
I'm not a fan. It says champagne.
Yeah, they're different. So many, I mean, hundreds, thousands of different flavours or sorts, as they're called. What does yours say on the lid, Daniel?
Flavour?
Yeah.
Jealousy.
Like Calvin Klein.
Whiskey and honey.
Whiskey and honey.
Yeah.
Does it take... yeah, yours,
No, not
Ross,
really.
when you've come down...
I can't see. I can't see anything. Who's talking to me?
Your flavour's madness.
It says peanut butter.
No, it says Perrier.
Oh, does it?
Perrier smells of victory. The problem is it makes your snot brown, so there are snuff handkerchiefs, which are brown silk handkerchiefs or dark-coloured silk handkerchiefs. But that will really, you'll see, you'll get it'll look as if you've wiped your arse, I'm afraid.
From here, looks like a Turin shroud.
I can see the face of our Lord.
You know it's snuff. You're like, oh! He's shattered his hanky!
Even though they know.
Your eyeball comes out in the way.
What are the advantages, if I can put it that way, of taking snuff instead of smoking?
Well, there's no smoky stink in it.
It's
very self-contained.
Lung cancer, emphysema, heart disease are very unlikely.
Not bothering other people so much.
It doesn't bother other people.
It doesn't make your clothes smell.
Doesn't make
but
your
it
clothes.
will
In fact, it could be
definitely
perfumed.
rot inside your nose, your sinuses. And
Nasopharyngeal.
It affects the way you talk as well, Steve.
Yeah, well, there is that. It does slightly increase your chances of nasopharyngeal cancer. But only
great.
slightly.
Thanks very much.
Not one pinch, I promise. It is, of course, necessary for me at this point not to recommend snuff or any other tobacco product.
Is that Little Mix?
I don't want to alarm anyone, but the one at the top left is me.
It is! Oh, my goodness. There's no doubt in it. Anyway, Snuff said about Kendall, why isn't the tiny woman in your snuff box wearing any pants? There's a picture in the lid of your snuff box.
Wow. I think the snuff's kicked in.
I've only got a head shot.
Oh, it's only a head shot.
Yeah,
but
I've only got-
as it happens, she wouldn't be wearing any
I've
pants.
got a full...
Have you?
You've got a liar.
I've taken her face and arranged the snuff so it looks like she's a bearded lady.
Like that magnetic thing with the iron filings. I used to love that.
Pants as in undergarments, those sort of pants?
Well, it's a woman who was probably, you could regard as almost the first celebrity in a strange sort of way, in as much as she wasn't an aristocrat, a politician, an artist, a warrior. She had no accomplishment whatsoever.
Katie Price.
Basically, she was... That was extraordinary. She was an 18th century courtesan, which is not a word we use anymore. So she really rose to fame in the mid-18th century when she fell off her horse in St James's Park, and it was revealed to the astonished onlookers...
Going commando.
She was going commando. She had no underwear. There is a picture which is slightly overdone, but it's an example of how
missing the crucial aspect as well.
Somewhat.
That's what going commando is. No pants.
No pants.
Yeah.
Kitty Fisher, such was her name.
Kitty Fisher?
Kitty Fisher. She went commando and she exploited it enormously. And there were snuff boxes produced with pictures of her in them and...
Muff boxes?
And there were watches called montre lubrique, lubricious watches, which used the clockwork to show her doing rather pornographical things in sort of like a sort of automaton kind of thing, a little movement.
Oh, God, you wouldn't want the grandfather clock with a pendulum version, would you?
She led a sensationally
I don't even know why that's funny.
Just don't overthink it.
No.
That's my approach to life.
Her life was sensationally dissolute. Casanova describes a moment where she ate a 1,000 guinea note with butter spread on it. Now, 1,000 guineas in those days could buy you, an estate. It could buy you a country house with servants, and I mean, it's staggering.
So she was an idiot.
Just incredibly carefree, I suppose you'd describe it as. She had portraits painted of her by Reynolds, the great portraitist of his day, and she apparently...
The one in the middle doesn't really look
The one
in the middle looks like Alan Sugar.
These are...
I started with nothing.
I've I've taken my wealth and I've swallowed it. I'll tell you what, you're going to get down on your knees and you're going to wait for that note to come out. Was that why she didn't have the knickers on? She was waiting for the... She was just waiting for... That's all it was.
There it is, there it is!
Here it comes. I can see the Queen's face.
Oh, it's gone back in again.
It was a king in the mid-18th.
Oh, was it a king?
Yes. So, anyway, Reynolds, these are not examples of paintings of her, but she got through so many lovers that he had to keep all the paintings he did of her. Because the man would say, I'm in love with Kitty, I wanted to do a painting of her. And about halfway through, she was onto a new man. She was an extraordinary
So you made a
woman.
flick book, essentially.
Basically, a flick book with pictures of her. Yeah, she was pretty extraordinary. Perhaps the first celeb. But like some modern celebs, she sometimes forgot to wear any pants. So, moving on now, we have some kits. What would you use these kits for?
Window cleaning.
It's the first one. Well, no, they go together.
Scratching a window and then cleaning it.
This has a very specific ecological purpose, rather bizarrely.
Is that a wire wall brush affair?
It's a scourer. It's a pan scourer. Which you get from your average high street pan scourer shop.
No one's ever held a scourer like that. I'm doing the dishes.
It's a scouring superhero by the power of scour! Also, the man on the right doesn't really need the extended squeegee. A little more effort, I think he's going to got to the top. Better get the extension out. Oh!
We're in a world of ecology.
Right.
And we're in a world of the second largest fish in the world.
Is it a big squid?
Fish.
A jellyfish?
A fish.
Great white.
Basking.
For the last time I'm basking in your dreams. There it is with its rather wonderful mouth open.
Whoa!
Isn't that
I've got a
fabulous?
coat hanger stuck in my mouth! Help me! There's a coat hanger in my mouth!
It's a beautiful animal, and unfortunately, unfortunately, it's hunted to the verge of extinction. So we need to know a lot about them because they're so in danger. And to take a core of their DNA is difficult. You need to sort of, it's like tagging them. So what they've come up with
Is that one being examined now? Is that why he's got his mouth open?
Say No, what you do is you get a window cleaning rod, you shove a pan scourer on the end, and you scrape off the slime from each particular one, which has got its DNA. And you send it to the University of Aberdeen, where it's marked, and then you check its progress by marking other ones.
Occasionally, do they swallow slightly smaller?
Yes, I
know. So there's Black Russian dolls. There's 19 in it.
It's a lovely thought. Yeah. It's a couple, Graham Hall and his wife,
Is
Jackie.
that the name of that shot?
No.
Graham Hall. It's not quite as frightening when you say, quick, there's a Graham! There's a Graham!
Graham Hall and his wife Jackie from the Isle of Man go out into the Arctic Sea and scrape basking sharks with pan scourers and send the DNA to Aberdeen. And it's been jolly useful. It's jolly, jolly useful.
Would anybody like to know how you know that you're being followed by a gay shark?
Yeah, go on.
How do you know you're being followed by a gay shark? No, 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 no. No, 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 no,
That's very good. I like that. And here's another kit. What's that? It's luminous pins and reels of cotton. What would they be used for?
Sewing in the dark.
That would certainly.
Disco Nanas? He's popular. When John Travolta was doing that,
yes,
he had wool around that
This was part of the kit of a man called Dr. Eric Dingwall.
Oh.
Dr. Eric Dingwall specialised in exposing something. Not his own Dingwall, but
the wall of his ding.
Fake mediums. In other words, fakes. People who pretend that dead people speak.
To do with Ouija boards or anything?
Yeah, there are people who pretend, quite wrongly, that dead people can speak, which they can't. They're dead. No, they don't talk to you, they're dead. But there are people, a class of fraud, and I'm saying this directly into camera, you are a fraud if you are you are fraudulent.
Hang on. My granddad says, shut your face.
Dr. Eric Dingwall cunningly used...
Stop it, Grandad, stop it!
It's quite weird because we look like we're in a sale.
Yes, you do.
You always look like you're in the same.
Let's be honest.
I'm getting a basking shot.
What's that? You were touched inappropriately by a man called Graham.
Anyway, no, Eric Dingwall specialised in exposing mediums, and he would tie thread to their legs so that he could feel what their bodies were doing in the dark. He would also attach luminous pins to them, so again, when it was dark, you could see where they were moving and what they were doing, what machinery they were operating, what tricks they were up to. Now it's time for a bit of general ignorance, so fingers on buzzers, please. What was a Roman soldier's salary?
Wine, prostitutes.
The outfit, just the outfit.
Audience?
40 quid a week.
Salt! Oh dear! Audience, minus points! There's a joy in trapping the audience there. Yes, it is true that the word derives from the Latin for salt, but it is never true that they were paid in salt. The money would go towards the buying of salt, but also towards the buying of their uniform, the buying of almost everything else, because a bit like British officers, they have to buy everything themselves out of their salary, but they were never paid in salt.
We're getting paid in salt, though, aren't we?
You're getting paid in salt. Oh, yes. Yeah. Oh, yes.
Kitty litter.
And kitty litter. Yeah, the Romans, in fact, planted vineyards, as you may know, in parts of Britain. So here's a question. Where does British wine come from?
Somerset.
Somerset, no.
Kent.
No.
Kendall.
Kendall, no. Which country does it come from?
France.
Might do. The point is, British wine is made from grape concentrate, which comes from abroad. Whereas English wine is proper English wine from English vineyards. And so English wine gets a very bad reputation because people have tried British wine and think it's the same, and it isn't. There are over 400 vineyards in Britain now, and maybe global warming will see an increase in that. But certainly in Roman days, in the medieval warm period, as it's called, wine was commonly made there. Yeah. So, anyway, English wine comes from England, but British wine can come from anywhere. And now, this is where it gets scary. I'm going to try and impress you with my martial arts skills.
Really?
Karate. Let's break stuff with our bare hands, and we're going to begin with you. You should have a piece of paper and a ruler.
Yes.
And what I want you to do is put the ruler on the table, 2/3 of the way, something like that, and put the paper on top of it. Like so. Not wholly over it, leave the bit out. That's it. Yeah, Colin's got it right. Thank you, Colin.
Okay.
All right. Now, without putting your hand over the paper,
how he got that award.
simply karate chop and break the piece of wood, because the air pressure over the paper will act as a... You think that can't be possible. So, Colin, you try.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh!
Isn't that surprising?
And I didn't believe you, so I really put my shoulder into it.
Yeah, and you have to. Nice bit of follow through.
Yeah.
Alan, you have a go. Yeah, well, it is in half, you can see, but it slipped out, unfortunately. Go on, Ross. Is it in half?
All right, now.
Yeah! It's very surprising.
Feels good, though, doesn't it?
It feels good.
I feel like Bruce Lee.
Now,
What
what I'm going to do is I've got 3 bricks here. And it is the...
It's like the first ever game of Jenga.
It is. Wow. Okay. Yeah.
It's Kendall mint cake.
Kendall mint cake. Okay. Right. Oh, God. I have to focus my energy. I know it's all right, it sounds, but I have to focus. I have to go through. I have to, oh, God. So nervous now. sound on walls. OK, but even more. I got another one. Another one here, and this time, in theory...
You're going to do it with your penis?
In theory here, ow. So choose top, middle or bottom?
Middle.
Oh, no. OK, I'll try and break just the middle, then.
I bet you Chuck Norris is crapping himself.
I'm going to try and break just the middle one. Again, this takes extreme focus and extreme pain. I just don't want to do this.
You don't want to do it again.
I can't believe I put my hood on in case there were shards.
What shards of his splintering wrist?
Kendall Minkay.
The truth is, there's no mystique to karate chopping bricks, just good old physics, and in our case, to be honest, trick bricks. So don't try and do it at home. I'm still very strong and hench and butch, though. But anyway, it must be time for the scores, and it is fantastic. In first place, wow, with a +4, is Ross Noble!
Yeah!
The Nobel Prize! In second place, with a +1, Noel Fielding! It's incredible. In third place, with -6, Alan Davies! And certainly worth the airfare. In fourth place, with -9, it's Colin Lane. But in last place, with -10, the audience! And it only remains for me to thank Noel, Ross, Colin and Alan. Whatever you do, keep your kit on. Good night.